Well, they're making their big move to ban guns. They're saying Trump and all gun owners are mentally ill. There's no blame of the psychiatric drugs. There's no blame of the culture of death. And the fake news media has been caught lying, saying he traveled to the white supremacist compound. That turns out to be a total hoax. Let's look at a breakdown of some of the latest news, then we'll come back with the bombshell info as Democrats call for Republicans to be murdered.
Hands, put your hands up. Please. Put your phones away. Put your phones away.
Holy shit. Oh my God!
There's been a shooting at a high school in Broward County, Florida, about an hour north of Miami. More than 14 students have been injured, and the superintendent reports that there are numerous fatalities.
It's bad with the water bottle.
The answer is armed teachers in the schools. The answer to stop murdering killers is good people with guns. Did we turn our guns in because Hitler was doing bad things with guns? No, we used guns to stop him.
He seemed very, I don't know what the word I want to say is, but he was trouble in middle school, so I kind of joked to him about it and said, I'm surprised you weren't the one who did it, and he just gave me a huh? So that's really what happened.
You were walking down the hall, he had already fired at that time.
Yes, sir, with him.
Weren't you scared?
In the moment I wasn't, because there was definitely another shooter involved, but...
Oh, you think he was not the only one?
No, definitely not.
Do you think there was more than one shooter? There's 3 shooters. Definitely.
It was impossible for there to have possibly been only one shooter because she heard shot. I think this is, there has to be, like, for sure, a second shooter. I think they need to keep investigating that.
We cannot accept this. I can't do it, Wolf. I'm sorry. We can't do it.
Yeah. Please give me your guns.
Every deadly shooting in this country, the odds get worse and worse and worse. Are you really willing to keep playing those odds?
They shouldn't just sweep this under the rug as some other, school shooting where there was a lone gunman and then everyone's up in arms saying, hey, we need gun control. Everyone needs to take the guns away. That's why I said, I was talking to this guy, near the school, and he was telling me, these teachers, they would be able to protect the students had they just had the ability to fight back. He said, when you have a gun and you're going against someone who's trying to shoot you, you're equalizing the balance of power. That's exactly what needs to happen, because you see there's a teacher laying on the floor in one video that I saw with blood everywhere, and the teachers and the students are walking out. This type of stuff could have been completely, maybe not stopped, but diminished quite a bit had a teacher had a gun in that building and been able to shoot back and kill him.
I thank God to this teacher who opened up her door, and all of a sudden she got shot in the arm trying to open the door, and then the other teacher, he got shot in the head.
He went up and down the hallway, just banging and shooting into the classrooms. He shot through my door. I think about 3 in my classroom got hurt. I just saw blood everywhere.
But I just want to jump into 4 weeks ago when the Secret Service stuff started happening. So it was sort of like a random thing. I think it happened like right after a weekend or something. The teachers, every single one of them was instructed to tell us like this new drill, like where our zones were for each class. And, every single day they would tell us. And then I talked to one of my teachers. In fact, it was the same teacher that I ended up being with.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back on the other side with the latest on the Florida situation. North Korea is really coming to a head. A lot of science news, just a jam-packed, vital transmission that the globalists are trying to censor, so please spread all the live links.
As I'm sure you know and feel, this is another very sad day in America, another senseless shooting, this time at a high school in Parkland, Florida, where a gunman, a former student, opened fire yesterday again. 17 lives have been lost, more than a dozen people are hospitalized. And our president, as he should, weighed in on the tragic events this morning from the White House.
We are all joined together as one American family, and your suffering is our burden also. No child, no teacher should ever be in danger in an American school.
Agreed.
No parent should ever have to fear for their sons and daughters when they kiss them goodbye in the morning.
Agreed. So I agree with both of those statements. And here's what you do to fix that. Tell your buddies in Congress, tell Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and Marco Rubio, all the family men who care so much about their communities, that what we need are laws, real laws, that do everything possible to keep assault rifles out of the hands of people who are going to shoot our kids. Go on TV and tell them to do that. I'll tell you something.
Remember, the left funded the whole Arab Spring.
Example of the common sense you told us you were going to bring to the White House. It's time to bring it. We need it. Tell these congressmen and lobbyists who infest that swamp you said you were going to drain. Force these allegedly Christian men and women who stuff their pockets with money from the NRA.
All right, pause again. You just got his little anti-Christian statement. And now the money from the NRA stuffed in their pockets. The NRA is one of the only lobbies in the country that actually represents the people and a constitutional right in the Bill of Rights. And it doesn't come from the Bill of Rights. It's simply pointing it out that because there are bad people in the world is why I have guns. Just like when your little Islamic buddies you bring in run over dozens and dozens of people, killing them in New York, screaming Allah Akbar, we don't blame the truck company that manufactured the automobile that uses the weapon. Just like when somebody beats somebody over the head with a baseball bat, we don't then blame Louisville Slugger. And you know that. You're on record doing daily consultations 5 days a week with Chucky Schumer, who writes your so-called comedy now that is a bunch of political garbage. And then he comes out and again calls the president, it's a long rant, mentally ill. So he's reading off a Democrat Party teleprompter written statement, and he's seizing on this tragedy when school shootings are still flat, but they're still an issue. One young person is too many. And then there's all the warning signs, and the FBI called, and reports of all the other shooters, and all the strangeness going on. And here's Jimmy Kimmel again in Hollywood that glorifies guns and glorifies violence that's been directly causally linked to the rise starting in the 70s of mass shootings. Because we are way up mass shooting-wise compared to the 1950s or 60s. But if you look since the 70s, it's a flat curve. Overall gun crimes down almost 60%. It was over 60% since 1992. There's been a slight bump the last few years, but not towards its old high in 1988. That was the height of gun violence, according to the FBI crime statistics that are very, very accurate because they list off local numbers. So the height's 88. We have seen a precipitous drop since 92 until 2016. And then it raised back up a little, but only a few percentage points, or 58 points, according to researcher John Lott and others that crunch those federal numbers. So we were at 61%. Now we're like 58% drop since 1992. And you're here just selling total lies, kind of like Don Lemon said yesterday. Oh, odds are you got a better chance of being killed in a mass shooting. It's just not true. But they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're engaged in. It's called deception. And again, remember, it's a fact that when they glorify these mass shooters since the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it continues them. And there's generally a few more mass shootings in the week after one of these. Just like right after Vegas, we saw the church shooting in Texas. So everybody should be particularly vigilant right now because there are a lot of mentally ill people out there. The insert, the Prozac family of drugs, says it can cause mass shootings. But again, there's never really a public discussion of that, is there? And now family and friends have come out that knew the reported shooter, Nick Cruz, and they're saying that he was on psychotropic drugs and basically was a mental zombie. But that's hardly in the news. You've got to go to Infowars.com or the local papers, or drudgereport.com has it top linked right now, an article by Paul Joseph Watson, another article by Adon Salazar. We're going to break all that down, but let's continue with Kimmel.
To do something now, not later, now. And don't you dare let anyone say it's too soon to be talking about it, because he said it after Vegas, he said it after Sandy Hook, you say that after every one of these 8 now fatal school shootings we had in this country this year. Children are being murdered.
Do something now!
Oh, and now more of the crime.
Do something.
This is poor, good people.
We still haven't.
All right, pause again. I want to be able to lay more of this out here, but again, this is Hollywood that glorifies the mass shootings, that pushes the gun culture. This is Kimmel that had a BB gun about 1.5 years ago in his studio audience and shot a BB that could put somebody's eye out into a jar of pickles, into a glass jar of pickles. And here it is.
The juice of these pickles is on you, Alex Jones.
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, when he was shooting the jar of pickles, he was saying, here's a message to you, Alex Jones, from the New World Order. Now, they seize on every one of these opportunities, and we need to get back in their face and tell them, how dare you sit there and point your finger at American gun owners, at American patriots. He just had a skit last week making fun of Christians. He just mixed in again, oh, you dirty Christians up there on Capitol Hill stuffing your pockets. Imagine if he said something like, you dirty Jews up there on Capitol Hill stuffing your pockets, or you dirty Muslims up there on Capitol Hill stuffing your pockets, or you dirty Buddhist up there on Capitol Hill stuffing your pockets. But he sits there and says it because Christians are the bad guys. We're the people being targeted. Coming up in the next segment, fake news, lie about Florida shooter being member of white supremacist group, not retracted, even though it's admitted that was all a complete hoax. Also, the AP still running with it, far left groups call for murdering Republicans as revenge for Florida shooting. Family says Florida shooter, autistic, may have been on medication. Of course, aren't they always? Family members claim suspect was on medication to deal with his emotional fragility. He reportedly introduced himself to thousands of people over the last few years as school shooter and said on YouTube he was going to go be a school shooter, but the FBI said that wasn't important enough information. So that's all coming up. Now, continuing, ladies and gentlemen, on the other side, we will get into all of this and a lot more today. You can be absolutely assured of that. Just briefly here, we are offering 50% off all of our high-quality fluoride-free toothpaste and mouthwash products via Superblue at 50% off at InfowarsLife.com. The main store is InfowarsStore.com. Fortified colloidal silver and iodine, fluoride-free, made by the top organic producer of toothpaste in the country, private label by us. And to give you an idea, high-quality toothpaste out there might have 50 cents to $1 worth of product in it. We have several dollars worth of product in every tube. It's concentrated. There are no fillers. It is the best, developed by a dentist and oral surgeon, my father, working with the top producer of organic fluoride-free toothpaste in the country. Superblue is what you and your family absolutely need, deserve, and the small amount of money we make off of it, especially when it's 50% off, helps fund the operation. You can sign up for auto ship, an additional 10% off, cancel anytime, absolutely free to do that. And that's the kind of thing you want to sign up for auto ship so you don't forget to get it each month or every 2 months or every 15 days whenever you need more. So all the Superblue products on sale, but only through the weekend at InfowarsStore.com. We'll be back on the other side. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com and Newswars.com and your local AM and FM station. All right. I've been really frustrated, obviously. There's been another mass shooting, more dead young people. It makes me sick. And I've been really upset as well, as a lot of you have, that we've had a lot of mainstream media, fake news, disinformation, seizing on the tragedy to blame the basic rights of all Americans and overturn the fundamental bedrock of our country. We didn't have mass shootings like this 60, 70 years ago because people were not this immoral. Now, there were cases of different gangsters and groups engaged in massacres, and there were examples of federal troops killing Native Americans in mass, and Native Americans killing townspeople and villagers in mass. So you've always had massacres, and there were big battles out west, and Mormons accused of engaging in massacres, and other settlers engaged in accused of massacres of Mormons. And I mean, there have been plenty of massacres, and Pinkerton security men going in, and Rockefeller security men going in, even in the early 1900s, and mowing down whole towns of gold miners and burning their towns to the ground. And I mean, there's so many famous cases of even in the 20s of the U.S. military crushing World War I bonus strikers who camped out around the Capitol building. So massacres have always happened. But generally, they were state-sponsored or between warring groups. This modern thing of the copycat or the lone nut going out to climb up on top of the UT Tower, that's about where you see the kickoff of that type of stuff in U.S. history in the 1960s. As I said, this stuff wasn't going on until the late 60s and then accelerating to the 70s, peaking in the 80s, and then now it's been flat. And that's just the facts. But still, it doesn't make it okay. But I've said this, you've said this, you know this. If someone kills someone with a baseball bat or a knife, and there are as many people killed every year with blunt objects and knives as there are guns. In fact, many years more people are killed by knives, not just other objects, than guns. Do we say ban knives? Well, actually, in the UK, they've been trying to make you get a license now for butcher knives and cutlery. It hasn't passed, but they're trying to nationally ban butcher knives and other large knives because they have much higher knife crime theirs in the UK than they would have, quote, gun crime. That is a crime where guns are used. So it's the human mind is the problem. And I know we all know that when we step back. But when they get Phil Mudd of the CIA/FBI on TV to cry about another one of God's children has died, or when we get Jimmy Kimmel up there crying, they have been instructed, just like Obama was, to emotionally try to punch our buttons. And I know, as an audience, you know that, and you're aware of that, and you fully get that. What I'm getting at here is that a lot of people have gotten comfortable and have believed that they're not going to get our guns when we've been 1 second to midnight many times, and when they've already gotten many of our firearms rights curtailed in different areas of the country. And it is the global UN policy to completely disarm individuals under the Unidir Small Arms Treaty that Obama signed on to, but that we have not ratified. So this is serious. And anybody that gets up there and blames gun owners or Christians, like Jimmy Kimmel and others are doing, is a bigoted, lying sack of garbage. Jimmy Kimmel and the Democratic Party funding the Arab Spring and funding the Islamic takeover of much of the world, they have blood on their hands on record. And when they point at us and say that we have blood on our hands, it is asinine. It is ridiculous. Hey, America, acid attack. Why don't you get stabbed, ban guns, nail bomb goes off, so then you'll be safe? Gets hit by a truck like us. That's right. Just ban trucks, ban acid, ban nail bombs, ban knives. That's a little emoji/meme that was sent out today on Twitter. Because if you look at the UK's crime, they have the highest mugging and stabbing rate in the Western world. Who has the lowest? Switzerland, where everyone by law has to own a machine gun. And they've got little armored bunkers scattered all over the country, every few square miles, full of anti-tank guns, missiles, and high-caliber firearms and hand grenades. And that's why nobody invades there. So there it is. UK has one of the highest rates of acid attacks in the world, police reveal, only after Pakistan. But never will they say it's Islamic connected. I saw a story I didn't get to yesterday where a Swedish police chief got suspended Because he said, look, let's say it. We have roving gangs of Muslim men that have made us the rape capital of the world. We had the lowest rape numbers before. It's such an open, nice society. And we won't say it's groups of Muslim men up to 100 at a time raping women. They just grab. It's insane. And it's going on. It's being covered up. So the globalists hit us with the scourge of radical Islam. They bring it in to destabilize things, and then they've got the nerve to point their finger at us on average, about every 6 months. It's only been about, I guess, 4 months since Vegas, and you've got some new big mass shooting, and behold, Vegas, totally fake. Do we know exactly what happened? No, but we know he went to the Middle East. He was an arms dealer. He had other people in the room. Infowars broke all of this from FBI sources the day after, and then other sources confirmed it. Of course, we should now look at this new event and say, okay, if he did act alone, he told everybody, I'm the school shooter. He wasn't allowed to bring a backpack to school before he was expelled last year. And then all these witnesses say multiple shooters, they're talking to him while the shots are going off. And this is totally ignored. I'm fighting to get any of these young people on. In fact, let me give the number out specifically for people that attend to that high school in Florida. Only for you to call in if you're a witness or have family there, or one of the young ladies that we see interviewed by local news and by Texas news that then never aired it but put it out on Twitter. Never aired on the TV stations but put it out on their Twitter accounts because the reporters thought you might need to actually see what they were really being told. And then we interviewed a student yesterday, and he said, oh, yeah, that's what other people were telling him. It's not like it's one random person saying this. It's a whole bunch. And it's not like they're getting confused by hearing different echoes and things. This is happening all over. And this is with people that are walking with the person they were told was a supposed shooter, Nicholas Cruz. We'll be back on the other side. Toll-free number 4. Folks right there in Florida that are witnesses or family, survivors, 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-ALEX. Please leave the lines open, listeners, at least in the next hour, for only those folks to call, 877-789-ALEX. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Phil Mudd, you're hearing these accounts. What's going through your mind as someone who used to work at the FBI?
Stand by, Greenham. You think it's antiseptic. It's not.
Greenham.
I talked to a terrorist who almost died because he wanted to blow up a weapon, a car bomb.
Button Cam 3.
The car caught fire, it didn't blow up, and I talked to him after he lost a lot of his skins, his hands, his feet. I have 10 nieces and nephews. We're talking about bump stocks, we're talking about legislation.
Fade up music.
A child of God is dead. Cannot we acknowledge in this country that we cannot accept this? I can't do it, Wolf. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get back to you, but you're obviously, this is so emotional. Unfortunately, it happens all too often, and as a result, people say we've got to learn some lessons.
And the Oscar goes to
Phil Mudd.
Phil Mudd, Obama, all of them, Jimmy Kimmel with their fake crying while they help fund the radical jihad Arab Spring that killed close to 1 million people, enslaved hundreds of thousands of women and children, sold into sex slavery. And now that slavery's been reestablished in North Africa and areas of the Middle East, CNN has reports about it but never says it's Islamic. So just remember that. Now, we're leaving the phones open for at least a couple more segments for anybody from the high school or friends or family to call in and give your testimony, but we had one of the survivors on yesterday. We played multiple clips that never made the local news, but that were put on Twitter of local stations interviewing people, reporting on multiple shooters and seeing the supposed shooter, Nicholas Cruz, while other shots were going off, and it appearing that he wasn't involved because he didn't have a firearm. I mean, that has got to be looked at, ladies and gentlemen. That has really got to be looked at in a big, big way. And I'm impressed that the listeners are not calling in right now and it's leaving the phone lines open for anybody there at that high school, or anybody that had friends or family at the high school, or anybody that has specific firsthand information to call in. The number is 877-789-ALEX, and we'll leave that open for this segment and the next, then open the phones up to everybody in general, 877-789-ALEX. Quentin Tarantino's father was scheduled to be on today, and I'm seeing if I can move him to the third hour because there's just so much news breaking on this front. He contacted me, and we looked it up, that it is his father, and has his own production company. I guess that's where Quentin began to get into it himself, but they're estranged, and he wanted to respond to his son's statements on Howard Stern saying that Roman Polanski having sex with a 13-year-old girl was no big deal. He wanted to respond to that, and I was going to see if we could move him to one, and they just told me there, they typed it on screen there, that indeed that Tony Tarantino will be coming on the broadcast. World War II veteran, you name it. And the stuff he told us off air about Quentin and about some of these issues and why Quentin thinks that's normal for children to have sex with adults is, to say the least, very, very horrifying. So Tarantino Productions is his site. And again, he's been in film productions before Quentin was born, and this is gonna. We need to look into the mind of one of the main confidants of Harvey Weinstein and understand how Quentin Tarantino got so twisted. So that is going to be coming up now. He's agreed to move to the third hour. Alex Newman of the New American Magazine. We're going to move him to another day, obviously, as all this unfolds. I'll be back this Sunday, Lord willing, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time with the Sunday transmission, and we will have open phones next hour. As well. Okay. I got news a couple weeks ago, and then I got it again last week, and I got it again Monday from high-level sources. And when I say high-level sources, when you get information from this high level and you're going to announce stuff like this on air, I meant to cover it a few days ago, and I just couldn't bring myself to even discuss it or even talk about it because it's so fraught with issues, and it's so concerning, and it's so real that one does not feel like they're worthy to cover it. But it's like a surgeon, even the best surgeons, a lot of times don't want to do a surgery because they don't think they can fix the problem. I was told that by a top surgeon yesterday. I waited years to get my Achilles that was ruptured fixed. It just grew back, as they do when they're ruptured, on its own, deformed and weakened. And he just said, I don't think I can make it better because you didn't get it fixed up front. And so here he is, board certified, one of the top guys in the state. And he was honest. He said, you can probably get somebody else to do it. He says, if you really want me to, I can get in there and cut it, shorten it, and do some other stuff, but it's stretched out, and it healed, but it healed deformed, and so it kind of wobbles around. My leg does. The pimp walk is not intentional, and it's kind of like the surgeon just doesn't want to do the surgery because he just doesn't think he can probably fix it right, and I respect that because a lot of doctors will do it regardless, just have you sign the waiver forms. But that's why I try to go to the best. And it's kind of the same allegory or the same parallel as to what I'm about to cover when we come back after this break. And it's not that I'm at loss for words. I have asked through a couple phone calls to different sources why I'm being given this information. And some of these sources have given us info before that's been very, very accurate. And another one of the sources is a very, very credible source and was meeting with the deputy director of a major intelligence agency recently and was told this information. And I gather they won't be specific, but yes, they want me to know it and want me to tell you this. And the media probably won't even pick this up because it's so hardcore. That's fine. I just can't even get answers to this, and they don't really have answers. And so I will attempt as best I can when we come back to get into this. It deals with North Korea, obviously, and a date, a week period that they have picked up chatter that North Korea is planning a strike. And the fact that North Korea would be putting this type of chatter out, well, they put it out publicly. And that's what makes me get a headache when I think about it. In fact, will you guys pull me the stack of North Korea news from yesterday that I almost covered it then and the day before? Because I want to, I sit here and I say this for hours, and I just want to try to figure out the best way to talk about it. Because this is the #1 issue right now. And while we're busy looking at the tragic school shooting and all the rest of it, that's one drop in the bucket compared to what Islamists are killing right now, or what GMO is killing right now, or what Roundup is killing right now, or what any of these big issues are. So we're going to go to break and come back and cover this. But bottom line, everybody needs to be praying to God for justice and for awakening and for peace. But this is a very, very serious time to be alive. Briefly, we have 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com on our best-selling, it's already our best-selling product other than the next two, Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste fortified with colloidal silver and high-quality iodine. It is 50% off for the mouthwash and the adult and children's toothpaste. There's no filler in it. It's concentrated. And so it has more money goes into each tube than any other brand out there that we've done research on, but by double. I mean, this is not even expensive, and it is just Rolls-Royce or Bentley or Aston Martin, quality in there, 50% off. Here's the bottom line. We have been in a state of war since 1950 with the dictatorship of North Korea. We are now facing the third hereditary leader of the Hermit Kingdom, as it is called, the most backwards, nightmarish, corrupt, starving, authoritarian, patriarchal, communist nightmare that the left thinks is so cute and funny, and that NBC and CBS and CNN and MSNBC have been defending and promoting. Now, I want to be clear. I don't want to have a war with the North Korean people. I want to be clear. I understand that they are casualties of this evil, culturally, spiritually, physically, mentally. That said, they're being used as a detonator by the Communist Chinese and others to project power and destabilization into the South China Sea. And now, North Korea has been threatening for a long, long time to attack Japan, to attack South Korea, to attack the United States. The list goes on and on. Now they have atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs, thanks to the Clintons, the Communist Chinese, and others that gave them the reactors, the technology, the missile secrets, the rocket secrets, the engines. Now they've finally gotten better engines out of Ukraine from our allies, not the Russians. And so things have deteriorated, and they've been kicking the can down the road, as the president said. It's at the end of the road. And North Korea is now saying, we will preemptively strike you, we will kill you, we will destroy you. Well, when someone points a gun at you and says, we will attack you, we will destroy you, we will kill you, you have a right, when somebody's pointing a gun at you, to pull your gun and take them out. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to bring the Communist Chinese in or the Russians. This is how you could end the world. But if North Korea attacks Seoul or North Korea attacks Japan, those are our allies, and civilization starts ending real quick. Because we'll be drawn into those wars. And that's how conventional war, they believe within hours, will lead into a full-out war. Now, that said, I have talked to the personnel and the individuals at the highest levels below the president, and then at the levels where people would actually be attempting to go in on suicide missions to kill Kim Jong-un. And so a lot of what I'm saying is publicly available information, but I have repeatedly been told by different sources this, and then asked why I'm not talking about it on air, because they know the military and the general public that's thinking is listening. And so the highest levels of multiple U.S. intelligence agencies want you to know this. North Korean chatter and preparations, both from human intelligence and signals, states that North Korea is, at this time, planning a preemptive strike against Japan, Tokyo, with ICBMs starting in the last 2 days of March going into April 2nd. So anywhere within that 4 or 5 day period. And that everyone, especially families of armed service members, should not be traveling and should not be leaving the United States during that period. And because they don't want to officially put that announcement out, they want that announcement put out to this audience because you are seen as the most awake, patriotic Americans. End of that message. Continuing. As other sources have pointed out, the SpaceX launch of a month ago, not the recent one, the most recent, was carrying some type of high-tech electromagnetic pulse warhead or warheads that could take out North Korea preemptively. And Trump has said that's on the table. There's a lot of other secretive weapons in the whole fire and fury arsenal. But that North Korean chatter is not also just that they're planning a preemptive strike, which you hear them saying, we'll attack you any day, we will destroy you, the whole U.S. will be fire soon, we're going to hit you, that's a promise. I mean, I've got the stacks of articles. You've all heard it, seen it out of their official. But when it's internally going on and they're saying that over the radio to their military, maybe their country's about to collapse. A lot of evidence shows they want to make the military think they're in such a crisis they stay at their post because the food's running out or whatever. I don't know. And no one really does outside of Kim Jong-un's insane brain. But they're telling them that we are preparing the strike. We are preparing the first strike. We are preparing. Be ready by March 28th. We will launch the attack by April 2nd. So North Korea is saying that they're going to attack in the last few days of March and the first few days of April. And then North Korea is publicly saying, warning, Trump, very close preemptive strike, decision, World War III threat. So both sides are saying this back and forth. And then here's the other part. You've all heard about EMPs, and North Korea's threatened to hit the U.S. with an EMP, and I think some of that threat's overplayed. Once they hit like Los Angeles, that would cause a chain reaction of power plants going out that could knock out large parts of the country and could take months or years to get them back on because it's already so tenuous. You see what happens with a few ice storms that only knock down a fraction of the power lines. It causes sometimes months of outages in areas. But the highest levels of the Pentagon, the highest levels of the CIA, they are telling people who've been in for decades and never heard anything like this that North Korea is launching an attack by the end of March, early April, and that we have to then be ready to defend against it, and that we may strike them first. And again, I don't want to get on air as a family man or just as a human, period, and say things like this that in any way escalate things. But Kim Jong-un's already doing it, and everything they're saying in the news is what I'm getting from behind the scenes, and that they just hope this is some weird bluster internally to their forces. But they've told their population, roughly 20% of it's the military, one of the largest standing armies in the world, though it's somewhat Stone Age. Most of them are on foot. But they do have ICBMs. They do have chemical weapons. They do have tens of thousands of large artillery. And they could destroy South Korea very quickly, especially the capital, Seoul. They could attack Japan. But, they are reportedly sending out communications that they are intending a first strike. And I have asked, that's why I waited about a week or more, so I'm getting these in-person meetings and phone calls and other messages. Why am I being asked to say this to the public? And it's just, we just want your audience to know. So you sit there and you gauge that however you want, but that's real information. Whatever's meant by it gives me a headache even trying to figure it out. And I don't think the people give me the info, they don't know either. But some of these sources are the type of sources that say, I just talked to the hostage rescue team there, and this is what happened, and this is what's unfolding. And he went to the Middle East, and he's a gun dealer, and the Saudis were in town, and blah, blah. And then later it all comes out. And then I get a call from the hostage rescue team source saying, go ahead and go with it. And the media makes jokes about it, even though you can go back and see that turned out to be accurate. So this isn't from the FBI hostage rescue team. This is from way up above that. In the meeting rooms with the satellites and all the people and everything. And then it's just relayed. And people say, what am I supposed to do with that? Well, tell certain people and tell them this. And people don't ask why. They say, yes, sir. And then I'm giving the information. So, quite a time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. We should be praying for peace here, but this is just crazy. And the absence of war doesn't mean war doesn't exist. The absence of nuclear war doesn't mean it exists. The longer we push it back, statistically, the better a chance it'll finally happen until they're eradicated. And I'm not even saying eradicated because they want the UN to be the only ones that have the nukes. I mean, it is just a serious situation. North Korea threatens electromagnetic pulse attack. Questions over lapses in U.S. grid raise security rise. Fox News. North Korea plotting to wipe out 90% of USA with deadly EMP bomb amid World War III scare. Express. That's them saying it. And the Pentagon says they believe they have a weapon and are targeting Los Angeles. And it'll knock everything out for 500 square miles and cause a chain reaction that could knock out half the country. And then it just goes on from there. Bloody nose. Strike on North Korea could begin with cyber attack by the U.S. We'll cover that when we come back. Merkel Phelan, Infowars.com. But this is not a drill, and what you got is real sources, real information from the highest levels. We'll be back. We got a drudge siren. We're going to post it on the info to Infowars.com. And I've got some big breaking news on North Korea, but we've got a Mueller indicts 16 Russians. So that's how he intends to hopefully get somebody to make something up against Trump. We knew that was coming. Let's get Roger Stone in here ASAP. He's here at the office right now, former head of the Trump campaign. So we got a rare drudge siren going. Let's go to this report, though, because he lays it all out with the Second Amendment. Tucker, psychiatric drugs, social alienation, broken families, war on men more relevant than gun control. And he's dead on. Here it is.
Decent person is horrified by what happened yesterday in Parkland. Every thoughtful person knows something horrible is going on in American society. Tragedies like this happen for a reason, and it probably doesn't have a lot to do with guns. The percentage of American households with firearms has dropped dramatically over the past 35 years. Meanwhile, the number of mass shootings has risen. If you're over 40, you did not grow up in a country like this. So the question is, what happened? It could be a lot of things. Far more Americans than ever before take psychiatric medications. Are outbursts of violence a potential side effect? We don't know, but it's possible. Does the social atomization of modern society play a role in all this? Well, spending life online does cause alienation. We know that. Last week, we interviewed author Johan Hari, who has studied the dramatic rise of depression in this country. As he pointed out, the most common answer to the question, how many close friends do you have, is now 0. A lack of meaningful relationships does cause despair. Perhaps in rare cases, it drives some to mass murder. Meanwhile, the nuclear family has collapsed nationwide. Does a generation of boys growing up without fathers pose a threat to this country? Of course it does. Why wouldn't it? Fatherlessness is one feature common to many mass shooters. Nobody's surprised by that. And what about men more broadly? As a group, men are not thriving in this country right now. Ignore the propaganda, and there's a lot of it, and instead look at the numbers. Men kill themselves more, graduate less, and of course commit pretty much 100% of mass shootings. It's a disaster, which for some reason our elites persist in ignoring. In March, this show will begin a month-long series every Wednesday on what is happening to men. We hope it'll be interesting. But why haven't we been talking about this for years? Now, we're not saying any of these factors caused the massacre we saw yesterday. We don't know that. We are saying we ought to do our honest best as a nation to figure out what exactly is going on here. But we're not doing that. That vital conversation has been drowned out and made impossible by mindless screeching about gun control, led by blustery charlatans in the media, you know exactly who they are, and also in Congress, whose only real agenda is moral preening. They aren't trying to solve the problem. Their aims are darker than that. Press a little bit and you'll see it. Sensible gun reforms, you hear that phrase a lot. You heard it all day today on cable news. What exactly does that mean? sensible gun reforms. Banning bump stocks? No. A piece on Vox.com today calls for a landmark gun control bill like the one Australia passed 22 years ago in 1996. That's the law that liberals are always telling you about. But the Australian law wasn't gun control, and it wasn't a voluntary buyback, no matter what they tell you. It was gun confiscation, a wholesale mandatory disarmament of the entire civilian population. Imagine what would happen if you tried that here in this country. America is not Australia for a bunch of reasons, including our history and our Bill of Rights. Imagine federal officials marching from house to house, seizing hundreds of millions of firearms from law-abiding citizens, and then fining and imprisoning those who resist. Vox approvingly calls this leadership. In fact, it's a recipe for bloodshed and civil war. It's nuts. Yet it is a common fantasy on the left. Dan Pfeiffer was a senior advisor to Barack Obama. Now he's a contributor at CNN, of course. Last fall, Pfeiffer wrote an article attacking his fellow Democrats for what he bluntly called fake moderation on guns. His advice was this: stop pretending to respect the Constitution and instead focusing on appointing judges who will nullify it. The goal? Gun seizures, ammunition regulation, the disarmament of the American population, a country where only the people in charge have guns and everybody else obeys. In the wake of yesterday's shooting, Pfeiffer's piece is going viral on the left. What he wrote is what they believe.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are well into the second hour broadcasting worldwide, and it just broke on drudgereport.com, one of the big epic sirens going there. Mueller indicts 16 Russians, and I've got the indictment here in my hands. We'll be going over it for you right now here live. Now, again, he could only indict 2 people so far, not for Russian collusion, but for making false statements to the FBI. This being the same special division of the FBI created by the Clintons and others that covers up for their crimes. But now they're just going to go after Russians they claim were involved in the elections, when it was actually Russians giving fake intel to Hillary, and then she was paying money via Fusion GPS and getting money from Uranium One by the tens of millions of dollars. But, oh, let's see if they're in there. Russians indicted in special counsel's probe for operations allegedly supporting Donald Trump in the election. Nothing to do with Hillary. The special counsel's office said Friday the federal grand jury indicted 13 Russian nationals. That's the swamp out of D.C. did that. Now, remember, they had the lady running against Putin, funded by Soros, go to the prayer meeting last week and said that she was there for Trump because she is for him, even though it's the opposite. Who knows? They could be indicting their own people who then make stuff up. The special counsel's office said Friday that a federal grand jury indicted 13 Russian nationals and 3 Russian entities in the probe into interference in the 2016 elections. The indictment says that the defendants allegedly, by early to mid-2006, that's when they started the giant wiretaps they said didn't exist, were supporting the presidential campaign of then-candidate Donald J. Trump and disparaging Hillary Clinton. You can have all the other foreign governments and the UN and the Pope involved in our election in Saudi Arabia, but if they're saying they can even prove these Russians were involved trying to help Trump, that's Russian collusion. Not that Trump was involved. See how that works? An announcement from the special counsel Robert Mueller's office said that the government accuses all the defendants of conspiracy to defraud the United States. 3 defendants are charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud. 5 defendants are charged with aggravated identity theft. So they're going to, oh my gosh, you can see it now. Oh, some of them might have been staying here illegally. Kind of like your maid might be here illegally and gave you a fake Social Security number. And they might have wired money wrong. I mean, that just is the telltale signs. And then here is the indictment. It's now up on Infowars.com. United States of America, that means the Clinton Crime Syndicate. You should scratch that out. But Clinton Crime Inc. Versus who knows. And then it just goes into it here. The United States of America. Don't you love how that's who this guy supposedly is? And then you go through all these. Concord Catering. Oh, I bet the Russians tried to get catering business. Oh, my gosh. Concord Management and Consulting. And you start reading this. Oh, yes. They're saying they had social media accounts that weren't in their proper names. They're calling that wire fraud now. See, I mean, wow, this is, man, I thought it was like meeting with Trump with a suitcase of money. No, no, no. Defendants also used the stolen identities of real U.S. persons to post on an organization-controlled social media accounts. Over time, the social media accounts became defendants' means to reach significant numbers of Americans. So they're going to claim that these guys said they were somebody else. You mean like Facebook, Twitter, and Google and all the government bots? Wow. Certain defendants travel to the United States under false pretenses for the purpose of collecting intelligence. Oh, so again, lied on visas to inform defendants' operations. Defendants also procured and used computer infrastructure used partly in the United States to hide the Russian origin of their activities to avoid detection. I mean, this is nothing. Oh my gosh, some Russians came here and had some social media accounts. Man, this is just bombshell. And I'm reading this. It said they tried to do business with other U.S. companies, not revealing they were Russians. What? And as they said, obtained visas through false and fraudulent statements. That's it. You could read the cover thing and see that. Wow. And it says starting in 2014, the defendants together tried to do business in the United States. I'm reading this. There's just nothing here. And you normally put it right up front. So they tried to get contracts for food catering. Project Lakata had multiple components, some involving domestic audiences with the Russian Federation, others targeting foreign audiences in various countries, including the United States. So again, like trying to communicate with someone on the internet, that's espionage. The organization monthly budget for the project, 73 million Russian rubles, or $1,250,000, including approximately 1 million rubles in bonus payments. To conceal its involvement, Concord labeled the monies paid to the organization for Project Lakata, payments reveal the software support and development. And again, the way they can even make that sound is you got sub-companies and stuff, oh, it's criminal. And then it just goes through all this. I mean, this is a nothing burger. But I'm just reading this here on air. They had data analysis for marketing. Oh, my gosh. This is just ridiculous. They had a translator project, attempted to travel to the United States under false pretenses. So they're saying somebody lied on a visa. I mean, you're not even supposed to get a visa to come to the U.S. It's supposed to be wide open, according to the left. Served on the translator project and operated multiple U.S. personas that she used to post, monitor, and update social media content. So it looks like an ad agency for catering. Well, there you go. Looks like they were selling some ham sandwiches. They always said you can indict a ham sandwich. Object of the conspiracy. The conspiracy had as its object impairing, obstructing, and defeating the lawful governmental function of the United States by dishonest means in order to enable the defendants to interfere with the U.S. political and electoral process. Well, this is amazing, ladies and gentlemen. And you heard, Tucker Carlson, they say, must be a Russian agent, too. Because he says he's not a Russian agent. And if you say or not, you must be. And Rand Paul didn't want to bomb Russian forces in Syria, so McCain said, you're a Russian agent. We'll be back. I'm Alex Jones, your host. We're going to have Roger Stone and Owen Schroyer with us in the next segment, responding to Robert Mueller's latest attack on the election of President Trump in 2016, now 15 months ago. He's indicted people for process, not for Russian collusion, for supposedly giving false statements to the FBI, which that shouldn't even be a federal law. It's totally unconstitutional. It's all up to them and their belief that you've done that. And then, of course, the FBI gets constantly caught lying, covering up evidence, planning evidence. I mean, it's just biblical, especially the different political groups within it connected to the Clintons. And now they've indicted 16 Russians for running social networks and catering and some other stuff. So we're going to have all of that coming up with the latest details. We also have a Highland College on lockdown for shots fired. We'll watch that as that unfolds. Several police agencies are responding to the Highline Community College campus report of shots fired. However, no shooting at the college has been confirmed. And I just hope there aren't any copycats with what we've been seeing as we normally do with any type of mass shooting. With the mass shooting in Florida, deputies called to his home 39 times. FBI botched the case. YouTube professional school shooter was his name. Video wasn't a strong lead. The FBI said shooter calls for power to detain over post. He was on meds, emotionally fragile. That's an Infowars.com article. Demon voices he was hearing. He arrived in an Uber. Threats, hoaxes, anxiety, arrest, uneasiness, grip schools, sells a bulletproof backpack, soar. By the way, we sell those, InfoWarsStore.com. Everybody really should have one. They're very lightweight and they're a good shield. That's from Infidel Body Armor. And also we have several other great brands. Florida student's grandfather survived 1949 school massacre. Media blame Trump. Kimmel says president mentally ill. Facebook group says murder Republicans. And that's another Infowars.com article right there that's in the top of Drudge, right there at the bottom of the top links. And I'll go ahead and cover that report right now before we come back and get into the latest Mueller operations. Far-left group calls for murdering Republicans as revenge for Florida school shooting. And you saw Kimmel say it's Christians' faults, you dirty Christians, with money sticking out of your pockets. That was last night. Dear crazed shooters, the GOP has frequent baseball practices. Well, we know one of your crazed shooters already did that. The far-left group of Facebook is calling for people to murder Republican lawmakers who support the NRA as revenge for the Florida school shooting. The unhinged post appeared on Facebook called Milkshakes Against the Republican Party in the hours after the massacre at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Dear crazed shooters, the GOP has frequent baseball practices. You really want to be remembered. That's how you do it. Signed, Americans tired of our political bathing in blood of the innocent. So kill some more people, right? For a few $1 million from the terrorist organization NRA, states the post, and goes on from there. This is even bigger. Also another Infowars.com story. Fake news lie about Florida shooter being member of the white supremacist group. Turns out AP and others totally lied. No one ever said that. It wasn't true. He hadn't paramilitary trained at the group, but all the leftist media, including the AP, ran with it, and they're not retracting, even though other newspapers have. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, our story by Don Salazar's very lengthy, very detailed on drudgereport.com. Again, it's posted to newswars.com. Family says Florida school shooter, autistic, may have been on medication, was hearing devil's voices, had been on vacation. They think he may have gone off of it. And that's when you really know that the inserts say, especially if you go off it quickly, do not do that. I had a girlfriend that was, for a couple months back in college, it was a lot of fun. She was a nice girl. Her dad was a doctor. And she was just so happy and so nice. And she was on Prozac, actually on Prozac. Never meet anybody that's on the original Prozac, but she was on Prozac. And then she decided to go off of it. And about 2 days later, wasn't the sweet, giggly, bubbly nymphomaniac anymore. She was trying to throw herself off a roof when I got the phone call. And I said, you know, I took care of her and got her to the family and everything. And then I said, we're not going to date anymore, sweetheart. But that's what that, I didn't even really understand she was on that stuff till later. But that's, I mean, they'll tell you 99% of the time they pull up at some house and a woman's cut her kid's arms off or drowned them in the bathtub or driven them off in a car in a lake or shot them. Cops walk in, open the pillbox cabinet, the medicine cabinet, and it is Luvox. It is serotonin reuptake inhibitors. It is there. It's almost like you don't even have to guess. It's just you know it, and that's why I called them suicide mass murder pills. And those are still big advertisers on Fox and CNN, and I don't want to criticize Hannity, but I have the clip. I didn't get to it yesterday just because I'm not going to go out of my way. But when I was on Piers Morgan, 2013, they were going to have me on for a couple more segments, but I talked about you're the ones that have all these serotonin reuptake inhibitor pill ads, mass murderer pill ads, the inserts, and I saw them going, cut. They cut early to break, kicked me off. They were so pissed. One of Hannity's people brought up the psychotropic drugs and everything, and Hannity cut them off. Now, that's why I played that Tucker Carlson where he brought up the drugs. So I guess Fox has got a better standard than CNN and does allow that kind of stuff to come out, or I guess Tucker Carlson can do whatever he wants on Fox, and that's a good thing. And I really like Tucker. Tucker sought out to come on my show some, I guess getting his bona fides straight before he became Mr. Libertarian, which is great. He's always been libertarian, but kind of became his true self, a lot more hardcore than he was on CNN, which I think is great. And then I've asked him on a few times, and he's like, Fox doesn't let me, sorry, which is true. Like Napolitano used to want to come on. I used to go on his show, and then they banned it. And it's just like, you know, that's the News Corps folks, because they want to control the liberty movement, not just have the liberty movement control the country. But I'm digressing. We'll come back with the big breaking news on the Russian indictment. We've got 16 Russians indicted by Mueller. It looks like we're having crooked toenails. We'll have all the details for you on the other side of the quick break with Roger Stone and with Owen Schroyer. But before we go there, just please don't forget, we're running a special through the weekend, and then it's got to stop. That is our super high quality, super blue toothpaste for adults and children, and the fortified concentrated mouthwash as well with colloidal silver iodine. So good for the gums, so good for going after bacteria and viruses. Concentrated toothpaste, no fillers, 50% off, fortified with iodine and colloidal silver. You can go to InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. Sign up for auto ship. It becomes a lost leader. You get an additional 10% off. You've got a 95% reviews by Power Reviews, third-party site. It is just $6.72, ladies and gentlemen, when you sign up for auto ship. I mean, we're basically giving it away at that because it's so concentrated and so high quality. Other leading toothpaste, because we know, may have a $50 a product in it. Ours has several dollars of product in it. Nobody does that. That's why we are the best. Super Blue, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. All right, we'll be back with the latest in the deep state war on America. Well, remember about a month and a half ago, the last big wave of fake news, that they're desperate with only 2 indictments previously of U.S. citizens for not being colluding with Russians, but for supposedly giving false statements to the FBI about side issues. Those stories have all fallen apart as Russiagate has been exposed as a Democratic Party operation. But remember Behar when she announced, General Flynn admits he's a Russian agent. He's going to testify. They helped run the whole campaign. Yay, we got him. Remember that?
Back to the show.
Breaking news.
Oh, my God. Oh, breaking news. ABC News' Brian Ross is reporting Michael Flynn promised full cooperation to the Mueller team and is prepared to testify that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians.
Yay! We'll kill the economy. Our president's a traitor. Yay! We'll F America over. Yay! I mean, it would be horrible. Even if I hated Obama or something, if that came out, I'd be like, God, this is horrible. But at least we're cleaning it up. It's totally made up. The Clintons are up their eyeballs. So now Mueller can't find Trump, his family. He can't even get obstruction on them. So now to have something, this is face-saving. It just hit me, Owen Schroyer, that they're going to go after low-level Russians that were running catering services and online consulting and had... And you know, OORT, you know, had some bots. Yeah, because they got sold a ad package by Twitter. That's what they come and advertise to you of what stories to run that are popular in the U.S. during the election, you know. So that's all they've got. So he's just desperately wanting to find something, indicting 13 no-name Russians and 3 companies that are just beyond small potatoes. You know, you get the thing of French fries, and you eat all the, and then there's like little tiny burned bits at the bottom that aren't even worth eating. I mean, these are like a speck of a speck. There's like, I've read the indictment now, almost all of it. You've read over it, but it doesn't matter. Like you said, Owen, Twitter is like, my God, it's like, oh, we caught Trump, you know, Putin's wee-wee holster. You know, we caught him in bed with Putin. It's over. Yay.
Well, there's nothing even in this that I've seen that even mentions Trump other than these Russian bots they're saying on social media that are tweeting about Trump, forming social media groups about Trump. And we'll get into that in a second. But think about the timing of this, Alex. They released it the week of the Florida shooting. While the Florida shooting is dominating the media, the Florida shooting is dominating everything, the Democrats are freaking out, and then they just insert this kind of in the back burner like, oh, yeah, here's our Russian collusion, here's the official document, while everyone is still talking about the shooters and talking about the shooting. So they released this intentionally, I think, while everyone was talking about the shooting so that nobody will actually dig into the nuts and bolts in this, because it's nothing. It's incredible. If they're going to indict people...
Well, I mean, they did have Facebook accounts and catering.
But if they're going to be indicting people over fake Facebook accounts, I mean, where are they going to stop?
There's about 100 of them of me.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's like, how can you use this as an indictment and look at
But see, that's why they sent out hundreds of thousands of letters now saying you're all Russian bots. And then even Twitter did a study and said these are real people. These are not Russian bots.
No, I've got the Russian collusion right here. According to Mueller's indictment, on April 6, 2016, an excerpt from a Russian advertisement says, you know, a great number of black people support us saying that Hillary Clinton is not my president. That was from a Russian bot. That's Russian collusion. Oh,
that's their proof.
How about April 7th here, Alex, April 7th. I say no to Hillary Clinton. I say no to manipulation. That was paid for by a Russian bot. We've got him. We've got him right here, Alex. We've got him on October 14th. We've got him right here on October 14th. Among all
document cam, please.
Among all candidates, Donald Trump is the one and only who can defend all police from terrorists. It's right there. It's right there in the document.
And that means if these marketing companies piggybacked on anything else people were putting out, the whole thing's a fraud. That's what they say. They say if any Russian marketing of any type is connected to anything, even though they admit it's less than 1% of the internet activity, the truth is the Russians are not good at this. What about Hollywood? What about the big Hollywood firms admitted they created over 100 fake news accounts and flooded the web with fake news against Trump and against America? Last night, my son wanted to watch TV. We turned on Netflix that I never look at. Hardly ever. And it was like, I was like, I've seen 10 different documentaries in here about Trump being a shyster. And so I watched one of them with my son last night, and it was all made up crap. I mean, it's like you know he's good because Hollywood and everybody hates him. And then exactly, tell people what page that's on, because this is where they show.
This is on page 20 of 37.
This shows the total devil botry. You know, I wanted to do a joke video where a news van pulls up. Almost wanted to hire like real reporters to do it as a joke. And they run here and there's a guy who's like a little bot outfit. Maybe like a little red cherry outfit going beep, 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 beep. And you like knock the door open and like, it's me, beep, 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 beep.
It's like our Russian bot coming and tell us what to do.
So yeah, there's the page right there that has, but Alex.
I say no to Hillary Clinton. So join our Hillary Clinton for prison. I created Hillary for president 2016.
Yeah, we literally
not
made
the Russians.
And you can probably find the date that we started that was before any of these these tweets that they're
No, we've been selling that shirt. Well, we've been selling that shirt for like 6 months before that.
Watch out, Alex. They're going to indict you next.
Donald wants to defeat terrorism. Hillary wants to sponsor. Well, that was us saying that. Vote Republican, vote Trump, and support the Second Amendment. Oh, my God. They even said the Second Amendment is now Russian. I've seen newscasts where they say, oh.
The Washington Post.
That was 2 weeks ago. That was Schiff. He said the Second Amendment's a Russian plot. There's a press conference.
No, I know. The Washington Post published it.
Here, go back to this. Go back to this. Hillary Clinton doesn't deserve the black vote. That's Roger Stone and us exposing, you know, how she said blacks aren't human. We said that a year before that. Trump, notice all of these are our talking points. It's all us because we're vicious.
After we said it.
Trump is our only hope for a better future.
So if anything, we're influencing Russia.
Oh, look, hashtag Hillary for prison. I sat there over 2 years ago in that office.
You didn't build that.
And I said hashtag Hillary for prison. I created that.
You didn't. You didn't.
I did. I created that. That's me.
You didn't start that hashtag. You didn't start that business.
Well, she gave me the credit before. She said I'm a dark, evil heart, and I came up with it.
No, I bet
we cannot trust Hillary Clinton to take care of our veterans. I think that's just who said that? The truth. Among all the candidates, Donald Trump is the one and only who can defend the police from terrorists. Well, remember that was in Black Lives Matter, and that CNN was saying cops deserve to die. Remember, Hillary is a Satan. Well, I mean, I'm the one that said that, and her crimes and lies had proved just how evil she is. I think these are Alex Jones quotes, I believe. Let's keep rolling down here.
You're Russian. This is it. They're going to say Alex Jones is Russian from Russians stealing your talking points. But here's the other thing, Alex. What they do is they try to trick you. Where if you just read the introduction, they're like, oh, well, various social media accounts, and then bank fraud and wire fraud, and then you get into it. The only bank fraud was Russians allegedly, according to this, stealing U.S. identities to make bank accounts to then pay for political advertisement. So again, nothing to do with Trump. That's the bank's fault. If there's,
well, by the way, you've got the EU, you've got the Vatican, you've got Obama telling foreigners to vote. You've got Hillary Foundation getting billions of dollars. Let's bring Roger Stone in. He's out on the road right now. He's here in Austin taking care of some business, so he's not in studio with us. Roger, what in Toledo do you make of this? Because, I mean, I'd read much of the indictment. I hadn't read the Alex Jones quotes, and I'm not trying to take credit where it's not due. Most of these came directly out of my mouth, a few of them out of yours. So they're taking American talking points that we put out way before these bots ever arrived. These bots jumped on the bandwagon like anybody does in advertising. That's what you do, is hijack memes. And then now this is the proof, Roger. So Hillary for Prison 2016 isn't a T-shirt we sold 100,000 of that filled the RNC. No, it's a Russian bot, Roger.
Yeah, where's the collusion? Where's the coordination and conspiracy with the Trump campaign? Nowhere in this indictment. This is meant to bolster Mueller's sagging public relations. I think people have caught on to the fact that he has nothing. So he goes out and he indicts a bunch of low-level Russians. Yet, where's the connection to the Trump campaign, Trump's family, Trump's campaign, Trump's associates?
There's nothing.
He has none of that. Therefore, by definition, it reminds me of the old sandwich. I could have a ham sandwich if I had some ham. This guy has nothing, and this just kind of proves it. It's pathetic, really.
Well, that's why I made the joke. One of the businesses was catering. And so it appears they do have ham sandwiches on their menu. So the FBI has indicted a ham sandwich.
They always said that the FBI would indict a ham sandwich. They finally got it.
That's the name of this segment for sure.
Hold on, Roger. We're going to let you have the floor. We got to go to break. Stay there, Roger. We got to go to break. We'll be back with Roger Stone, former head of the Trump campaign, the guy they claim is the chief Russian mastermind. We don't have a single original thought unless Putin tells us. Now get on the phone and get Putin's latest orders. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Roger Stone, former head of the Trump campaign's riding shotgun with us, Infowars host of the War Room. Along with Roger, we have Owen Schroeder here with us. Here is the big, giant news breaking right now. 16 Russian entities, 13 Russians, 3 Russian entities have been indicted by Robert Mueller today. We have gotten the indictment. And in the indictment, they are indicted for protesting against Trump and then protesting for Trump. So there's your takeaway headline. After Trump was elected, they are reportedly then running protest against Trump, and part
before
of the
Trump, before too.
Yes,
before and after.
I mean, this is crazy. It's on page 13, 20, and 25. So I'm going to say this again. The Russians that they've indicted are super low-level catering companies and stuff, little Facebook pages. They're claiming the Russians created Hillary for Prison 2016, even though I created it in 2015 and sold right at 100,000 T-shirts. That came out of my brain because I saw it painted in somebody's yard on a yard sign. And I said, if somebody's painting that, that is really smart. And I came on air and I popularized it, not the darn Russians. But let's just stop right there. I'm going to say it again if you just joined us. The Mueller swamp grand jury indictment of 13 Russians and 3 companies, and the headlines are for collusion with Trump, says that before the campaign ended and after the campaign ended, when he was president-elect, the same Russian group was out there protesting Trump. What in the world is going on here? And I had heard Trump talk about this like a year ago. He said, oh, we've looked at this. Some of these little Russian groups were actually protesting me. So I guess he'd gotten the intel, but I don't believe anything Mueller says. This just sounds like a huge cop-out of Mueller. What do you make of this, Owen?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out the reason for this. I don't understand the reasoning behind these Russians apparently getting fake IDs, fake bank accounts, and then funding these quote-unquote campaigns, if you want to call it this. But yeah, you had in November, just after the presidential election, you had this same defendants organizing a group called Trump Is Not My President. And then that was after the election. Before the election, you had the same defendants in June, creating an advertisement on Facebook promoting the saying, support Hillary, save American Muslims. And then again in July,
sounds Hillary. Like, well, I mean, we know what they're doing. We know. These are entrepreneurs. I've looked at their profile. They're trying to hijack any top meme, many of which we made, to simply drive traffic to their sites.
So there you go.
All they're doing is opportunistically jumping on whatever's hottest from the left and the right. It sounds like these are just mercenaries.
And apparently they're all over in Russia. So unless Russia is going to extradite these people to the United States, this indictment is about as useful as a roll of toilet paper.
I'll tell you what it is. It's face-saving. This is just astonishing, Roger. I remember you last year as well, if memory serves, because you're always ahead of the curve, months if not years. You talked about, and I remember Corsi harped on this, and more he's been proven right. And I thought he was wrong when I first hired Corsi over a year ago, even though he's a good guy. We should get Corsi on right now, folks, or after our next guest is on with us. And he kept saying, Alex, there were some very small bots. They were working for Hillary. We have huge leftist groups in Russia controlled by Soros. This is all a very elaborate scheme to embarrass Trump. These are actually leftists. They were on both sides, but only to make it look like they were for Trump. They gave 3-1 to Hillary. And I'd watch a lot of RT. A lot of it was, you know, actually anti-Trump, pro-Hillary until he won the nomination. What do you make of this? This just sounds astounding, Roger Stone.
Yeah, first of all, the size of it, you know, within the context of a multi-billion-dollar presidential campaign, a couple $1,000s worth of Facebook or Twitter posts is like urinating in the ocean. It has no impact at all. Secondarily, let's recognize that Boris and Ivan, who are maybe working for the Russians but stationed in the United States, have to tell their boss something to justify their expense accounts. So if you read half these things, I can't figure out what they were trying to achieve. Yeah, there's some pro-Trump messages. There also seems to be a bunch of anti-Trump messages. Impact zero. So this is a public relations move. Mueller knows that his public credibility is waning. It's just about the headline. Mueller indicts Russians. Sadly, half the people in America don't read beyond that. They say, oh, Trump's people must have gotten into trouble. No, there is no connection, no coordination, no collusion with anybody surrounding Trump. This is half a story, but it does set a precedent. If Mueller is going to indict foreign nationals for interfering in our elections, when are the indictments of all the Ukrainian nationals coming? Lee Stranahan has come on here at Infowars and laid out chapter and verse the collusion of the Ukrainian government to help Hillary Clinton, crimes far more egregious than what's outlined in this indictment. So when are they being indicted?
You're absolutely right. And here's the headline: Russians indicted in special counsel. Like, see, they're in Russians, they're indicted. And it's lying on who you are on social media, lying to get visas. According to the Democrats, you shouldn't have to get visas. You just come here.
Yeah, why are they so anti-Russian? Why are they so racist against Russians? Seems a little strange.
Roger, where does this go from here?
Well, the other piece of news here is, which I have not been able to confirm, but reported by ABC, is that Paul Manafort associate Rick Gates has cut a plea deal and is now cooperating with Mueller. I still don't think that has any implications vis-a-vis Russian collusion. There's no Russian collusion for Gates to testify to because there wasn't any. What it may do, I think it is probably designed to do, is to increase the pressure on Manafort to bear false witness against the president. In other words, this may in some way bolster the indictments against Manafort for crimes that are completely unrelated to Russia or the Trump campaign, may not be crimes at all, by the way, but help bolster a case against him, I guess I should say, in an effort to pressure him into betraying the chief of staff. That's not going to happen. Paul Manafort's not John Dean. He's not going to lie to satisfy Mueller, whether Gates has flipped or not. Now, I don't know Gates. He was never an associate at the old Black Manafort and Stone. He joined Manafort long after Manafort and I had split as business partners. But I always thought he was kind of a weaselly guy, and I don't really know what this indictment means, other than I don't think it poses any danger to Donald Trump or his associates.
Well, let's talk about something in a private conversation we had 2 weeks ago, and you said you were ready to talk about it yesterday in studio, but we never got to it. You said that from your intel, Bannon's always been a double agent. You weren't sure of it until the middle of last year. You warned me. That was on record. I didn't want to go with it on air. I've apologized to you and everybody else for that. That was a mistake I made, just trying to be such a team player. You can't be on the team with somebody that's a Benedict Arnold or Judas Iscariot. And so that's a big loss we have, thanks to me and others. But, you know, but you said he's clearly working with Mueller, even though he wasn't ever involved in the campaign during when all this Russia crap went on. Now it's admitted, it's in the news today, that now Bannon's going to be the star witness to move forward, and basically Mueller's only hope. You predicted this. You've got intel. What is it? When we come back in about 2 minutes after this break. And then we've got Quentin Tarantino's father coming on. I'm not a gossip columnist, but he is his father. And Quentin Tarantino has been promoting basically pedophilia. And so his father contacted us and laid some incredible info on us that fits in with everything we already know. And so we're going to go there, okay? And we're going to go there, Mr. Tarantino, with his father, to understand exactly why he goes on Howard Stern and says sex with children is okay if they're consenting. That is the NAMBLA creed. So we're going to cover that coming up for about 30 minutes and then continue with phone calls from folks here on this Friday edition. Just briefly, we are ending 4 sales either Sunday or Monday, because I have new specials starting on Tuesday, and supplies are running low. 50% off the liver and kidney cleanse Icarin. Go read about it. It's amazing. You cannot beat it. It's the best herbs and compounds that are known to, in a healthy way, flush that out. It is dramatic. You owe it to yourself, your family, you name it. It's amazing. Icarin, 50% off. We also have the DNA Force Plus, but in our first run, it's called Cell Force Plus, because I didn't want to get into a trademark issue with one of our partners. They said, no, this is so good, so much stronger, so much better, and so much lower price. You can call it DNA Force Plus. So we're going to call it that when it comes out soon, but it's a third of the price that you'd ever find anybody else with it. The CoQ10, the BioQQQ, that is about to sell out. So that is a discount of 53% off right now. And we also have a bunch of the other best-selling products at 50% off, like Flora Life, the great probiotic, and others. And toothpaste is 50% off, fluoride-free, Super Blue. And Owen Schroyer, and, of course, Roger Stone. So we're not trying to just strafe Bannon as some ego thing. We wanted to believe in him as this great man. He was really just a Hollywood screenwriter that took our liberty movement, my words especially, and others, and twisted it into a conflagration to try to gain control. But Drudge and others smelled him out. You smelled him out, but you're not a backbiter infighter like me, so you didn't mess with him. But now they're calling him the next golden boy. This whole fake Russia indictment thing of a ham sandwich and people that were actually attacking Trump, their own indictment admits, just bizarre, of low-level nobodies. I mean, does this signal a face-saving end? Or, as we're seeing in the news, is the man riding in on the white horse as the cavalry, as the Deus Ex, going to be little baby Bannon?
Well, let me take this and break it down in 2 parts, Alex. First of all, I think one of the main reasons that Mueller popped this out today is because the indictment of General Mike Flynn is falling apart before his very eyes. Mueller agreed to a stipulation for a protective order on the evidence surrounding Flynn's indictment, which is looking flimsier and flimsier. I think there's a high probability that the charges against Flynn are going to get vacated.
And the judge in that case just recused himself, and a new judge is in there, too. That's also significant, Roger.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think there's good news for that great American patriot, Mike Flynn, who I think was unfairly terminated and unjustly indicted.
He was the linchpin. He was the first domino to fall.
No question. And that opened the doors for the globalists, for H.R. McMaster and General John Kelly and others to get back inside the tent. As far as as far as Bannon is concerned, my understanding is that he is now singing like a canary, and he is attempting to impugn the president on business-related things. It's not It's not Me Too. There's some speculation about that he may have tall tales to tell about Donald Trump and women. It's not that at all. I think the allegation is going to be that the president was trying to do personal business when he was, had allegedly, according to Bannon, recused himself from his business. Now, my guess is most of this is trumped up. The president's way too smart for that.
Plus, if you actually read presidential power, you're allowed to keep doing your private business as president.
Well, I mean, look, Bannon is like a spurned lover.
He's like a scorned, bloated, tart whore.
Who dresses out of a dumpster.
And he looks like a psychotic.
And who needs to be introduced to soap and water. No, look, it's very strange because the president gave this guy the highest possible honor you can have in our business. I mean, a White House job is that's the pinnacle of success.
And he made him chief strategist, and then he proceeded to leak all over it and crap all over it.
And begin plotting his own campaign for president.
Delusions.
The American people will elect a guy who wears 3 button-down shirts on top of each other.
It was only 2, Roger. Come on.
All right.
I've seen him wear 3.
You know what's going to be incredible?
In the Oval Office, where Ronald Reagan would not even take off his jacket.
Well, now CNN puts different. Now CNN puts different pictures of Steve Bannon up when they talk about him because he's the good guy now. So they have like a Photoshop picture of Steve Bannon they use. But I tell you what's going to be shocking about this is the tripling, quadrupling down of the Trump-Russia collusion, delusion, and the brainwashed minions out there are only getting more crazier. I mean, they're going to buy this. That's going to be the craziest thing. They're going to buy this, they're going to celebrate this, and they're going to act like this is a big victory for them.
Meanwhile, the president's on his way to the hospital in Broward County.
Which they're also mocking him for. They're literally mocking him for that on Twitter. Anna Navarro and them are mocking the president for going to to Florida.
Or they'll just do like some of the CNN reporters. They'll just say he never really went to the hospital.
Oh, he didn't do anything.
It was Acosta.
He was never there.
He didn't go see Scalise.
No, he was never in Florida.
And they took the bust out of Martin Luther King. And yeah, hey, thanks, Roger.
He colluded with Russia too. We found him now.
We'll be back with Quentin Tarantino's father. We're going to be joined till about 45 after by Tony Tarantino, TarantinoProductions.com. He got into acting, producing, directing, I guess before his son was even born. And when we got this call about a week and a half ago, I looked into it, I vetted it, made some calls, and he's a really interesting person. The Tarantino family has, for over 80 years in the film industry, Tarantino Productions was established in 1958 as a general partnership between Dominic Tarantino and Tony Tarantino. In 2017, for the first time since the founding of Tarantino Productions, LLC, Tony Tarantino decided to bring his son, Edward J. Tarantino, in as vice president. Tarantino Productions participates in the writing of screenplays and scripts, and it just goes on. He's got a very interesting background in history. He's a patriot. He's a conservative. I'll let him stay a few minutes about his background in patriotism. But I got the contact, and I was like, this is Tarantino's dad, and he says that he really is upset about what Quentin's saying. And my issue was he's defended Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein. Quentin has. Clinton, for no reason, first time I ever saw him, came over and told me to get the F out of here, and I was at a public movie theater watching The French Connection. I didn't know he was going to show up and speak. I knew the director was going to be there, and then he was there, and it was his event, and some of the people attached to him came over and basically accosted us as we left, and I was like, wow, I don't like Quentin Tarantino. What a jerk. But he had a few films you could say were pretty good, but that's not why I'm attacking him. I'm attacking him because he went on Howard Stern and said that when Roman Polanski drugged and raped that little girl, that when it was a big national controversy that, well, it was consenting. Well, no, you can't pick up my 13-year-old daughter and if you convince her to have sex with you because you drug her that it's consenting. It's below the age of consent. That is a NAMBLA statement. And I don't want to just, I feel bad with his father here. I looked up, that has a good record and everything. But his dad wanted to come on to set the record straight about the family. We'll play that clip if you missed it from Howard Stern. But even Howard Stern gave him like, it goes on for like an hour. Like, dude, back off. You know, say you're joking. And Tarantino, Quentin, would not say that. And then we learned talking to his father, and I don't know how much we want to get into on air, but it fits the MO of why somebody would think something like that if they themselves had been abused. So this rabbit hole goes deep, but Epstein's plane, the Leah Express, And, of course, Weinstein on board, the Clintons on board. I mean, this is a big house of cards. And why would Tarantino publicly defend that? And why would the media refuse to pick it up? I mean, if a guy slaps his wife, he gets in trouble, and he should. Or if somebody slaps a girl in the butt, they get fired. And they should get in trouble. But when it's, hey, it's okay for men to drug 13-year-olds and rape them in the butt, excuse my French, it's okay if Quentin Tarantino says it. So we're going to go to break here in a few minutes and come back with the Stern clips. But Tony Tarantino, I know it's probably hard for you to come on and talk about this, but why did you reach out to us and say, for the family name that was in your first email, you wanted to come on and make a statement about this?
That's really important to me, Alex. It's, you know, my dad was everything to me. He was my hero. My dad was an actor in the early 30s. He did films with Tom Mix, Buck Jones, Tim McCoy. That picture of him that you just showed is on Tom Mix's horse, Tony. You know, he was an actor. I had to be an actor. My dad was a World War II Marine. He served at Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima. I had to be a Marine. The Tarantino name has integrity. It has respect. And what Quentin has been doing with it just sickens me. And I first spoke out against him, and I think it was, 2015, when in New York he stood up and called all cops murderers. You know, I've got 2 cops in my family. One killed on duty. The other one died 50 years later after having his back broken 3 places, the Columbine obstructions that happened in Columbine University in New York. He just recently passed away from bone cancer due to those injuries. 50 years apparently.
So you're Marines, you're police, you're patriots, and you're pissed that your son is pissing all over it.
Yeah, exactly. And then here's another point that I make to me that's important. He really has no technical or legal right to the name Tarantino. When he was between 2.5 and 3 years old, his mother remarried, and her new husband, Zastapil, adopted Quentin. So his legal name is Quentin Jerome Zastapil. He went all through school and everything he did as Zastapil. Then when he decided he wanted to get into the film industry, he decided to jump on the Tarantino name that already had some recognition in the industry. And one thing, he made a public statement once, and he says, my dad, or Tony Tarantino, wanted to be an actor, and until he took my name, now he's an actor. That is so sick. My first film that I was ever in was Where the Boys Are in 1958, 5 years before he was born.
No, I know. Your IMDb is huge. Your dad's IMDb is huge as well. So it just shows the total upside-down world. Talk about a 3-barreled name. That sounds like some British royalty name he got. He ought to keep his adopted little British royalty name instead of a cool name like Tarantino. I can't think of a more American-sounding name like Rocky Tarantino. I would mess with that guy. We'll be right back with Tony Tarantino straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones, and we're going to set the record straight with his father about why he's promoting stuff like this. Coming up, the videos on Infowars.com. The father looks like Kevin Costner. Leftist bully father of Florida shooting victim for supporting Trump. I don't feel sorry for him. F Trump. And so that video's on Infowars.com. It's a Kellen McBreen article. We're going to be covering it coming up. Now, Tony Tarantino, the confirmed, admitted father of Quentin Tarantino, one of the biggest directors in Hollywood, is our guest. He has Tarantino Productions. His dad was a World War II veteran of Iwo Jima, a Marine. He himself's a patriot. And he's on record at hundreds of films, directing in TV shows, movies, you name it. And so he's Quentin Tarantino's dad. And I just got up there and pointed out, I guess early last week, if you just tuned in, that the media ignores reports of pedophilia, men and women being raped. I'm not against gay people in general, but there is a, quote, gay mafia, gay Hollywood folks have said, where men get abused and then no one speaks up for them. And there's been a lot of reports about, Tarantino and others spitting on women, making them wreck cars, do dangerous stunts, all sorts of sexual assault by Weinstein being covered up, rape, you name it. And the media leaves Tarantino alone for some reason. And so that's a big question for his father. Why do they leave him alone? And why would Quentin go on Howard Stern and say, in the middle of a firestorm about Roman Polanski that, you know, had a girl he grabbed, drugged, raped, why would he say it's consensual? That's NAMBLA type talk. It wasn't consensual, plus it can't be legally because she's not the age of consent. So it's why, you know, a 12-year-old can't get breast implants or have a sex change. I mean, it's the same thing, but the left wants to lower the age of consent so they can come in, tell parents not to be parents. They come in, take control of your children. That's the program. So he joins us now. But I want to play a clip of this so he can respond to it of Quentin Tarantino, his son, on Howard Stern.
When Gary Garver, our reporter out in Hollywood, interviewed you, here's what you said. I got to ask you about this. Okay. This I don't understand. Your movie I understand. This I don't. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, Quentin, how you doing, man? Hey. How's it going, man? Pretty good.
Nice to meet you.
What have you done to make the world a better place?
I don't know. What do you think I've done?
Cool movies.
Oh, well, there. I'll stand with that.
Pulp Fiction's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, were you happy when Roman Polanski won the Oscar?
Yeah, that was pretty cool, actually, yeah.
What's so great about a rapist being the recipient of Hollywood's highest honor?
I don't consider him a rapist.
Right, that's the one. How can you defend? See, I don't understand this. How come Hollywood embraces this madman, this director who raped a 13-year-old?
He didn't rape a 13-year-old. It was statutory rape.
Yeah, all right.
Well, that's not quite the same thing. All right?
Come on.
Enough said.
It's not statutory rape. You know, he had sex with a minor. All right, that's not rape. To me, when you use the word rape, all right, you're talking about violent, throwing them down. It's like one of the most violent crimes in the world. You can't throwing the word rape around is like throwing the word racist around. All right, you know, it just doesn't apply to everything that people use it for. All right, you know, he was guilty of having sex with a minor. All right,
that she didn't want to have.
No, that was not the case at all. She wanted to have it.
Well,
and dated the guy, and
she was 13.
And found out, well, by the way, we're talking about America's morals. We're not talking about the morals in Europe and everything. All right?
All right, let's stop right there. So the argument is it's consensual, but she was drugged and taken there by a woman, and none of this is even true, and it's in the police report, but he's going with the Hollywood story, though. He's dating, a 40-something-year-old man, a 13-year-old girl, and then, you know, she's bleeding all over the place, and then they sell this while they're saying men and women together is bad and Me Too movement trying to break up families. But pedophilia is okay. So I know you talked to the producer quite a bit, sir, and we'll come back in a long segment coming up. But hearing that, what generally either people are predators or they've been preyed on when they think like that. NAMBLA's argument is they should be able to come to your door, my door, and go, you got a 5-year-old daughter, 10-year-old daughter, son, whatever. If they want to go on a date with me, the UN is even looking at trying to make this world law that if the child wants to go, they're emancipated, they go. They want to get on a sailing ship with, 100 Somalis, and, it's up to them. I mean, no more parental rights. Your kid wants a vaccine, they get it. Your kid wants to take drugs, they do it. This is an attack on parenthood, parental rights, obviously. But, I mean, as Quentin Tarantino's father, and him hanging out with Weinstein and all this, and all the new controversies, what do you make of this, sir?
Well, for one, it totally infuriates me if me or you, as an adult male, take an adult female out and get her stoned out of her head on alcohol, then take her to a room and have sex with her. That's rape. You get charged with it. That's illegal. Look at all the cases that have come out with things like that about men just getting a woman intoxicated, then taking advantage of her. That's rape. Now you take a 13-year-old. I mean, God, I wouldn't care if this 13-year-old was the most beautiful female on the face of the earth, and she comes up and says, I want you. You got to be plumb out of your ever-loving mind to even think about taking advantage of something like that. I've got 3 books right here behind me written on Quentin Tarantino, and I'm quoting you some of the things he said, and they're in these books. One thing that he said is that when he was a kid, 11, 12 years old, his mother used to take him to the Pussycat theaters and sit there and watch porn films with him.
Wow.
Now, that's a statement he made, and it's in one of these books. Yeah, it's sick. It really is. There's no excuse for it. Quentin, I gotta say, is a filmmaking genius. He's done some phenomenal work. But on the other hand, he's such an egotistical maniac that thinks he's above everything else. He sits on $150 million of his own capital. He could afford to do anything he wants. Right now, Sony is threatening to drop his new film on the Manson family. That's been all over the social media. I've seen it.
Well, that's my next question. He introduced everybody Pulp Fiction, men raping men, torture, now the Manson family, Satanism, Helter Skelter. He's being used as a conduit by some very bad people, and usually people that say pedophilia is okay either abused themselves or been involved. And then he writes, as you said, he was going to porn theaters with his mother. I can't believe they let him in to XXX porn theaters at 11 or 12 years old. This sounds to me like Quentin himself may have been abused.
It sounds to me too, but I couldn't verify that because I don't know. I did.
Well, is it not abuse to take an 11-year-old or 12-year-old boy to a porno theater? I mean, I wouldn't go to one of those myself. I'm riding with a crazy girlfriend in college once wanted to go to one, and I said, "You think I'm like, hell no, lady." So I mean, as an adult, I wouldn't go on one of those filthy things. So that's what I'm saying is, wow.
And then too, because of all of this and what he's done, I've got a film going now that I've written 3 years ago before I met Donald Trump, before Donald Trump was running for president. And this film happens to go along with everything he's promoting in his administration.
Well, let's talk about that when we come back, then. This is very interesting. Quentin Tarantino's biological father on video Skype with us. If you're a TV viewer, radio listener, you can hear him. Amazing. Infowars.com/show. And they were pulling up articles where Tarantino said, all my films are about what happened to me. Coming up after our guest leaves, we've got the 16 Russians indicted, 3 institutions, 13 people. This is amazingly good news. It shows Mueller has nothing. It is low-level PR companies that were trying to get advertising for their products. They were attacking Hillary, supporting Hillary. They were hijacking every meme out there, which thousands of companies we know of. To say thousands, that's conservative. They just take whatever the trend is and they just write stuff about it. They link to it and you jump on it. That's how a lot of people run the internet. We try to lead the internet. We try to actually create, the new research, the new trends to wake people up. But let's put drudgereport.com back up. Let's see the headline. D.C. rocked. Mueller indicts 13 Russians. Trolls of 2016. And Drudge has got the right term. I was trying to think during the last hour, who are these people? They're attacking Trump during the campaign. They're supporting him. They're attacking him after. And I went, wait a minute. Why are so many of those things they jumped on things I said, things we created, like Hillary for president 2016? And it's because they were viral. I mean, we sold by then like 80,000 T-shirts. Trump was like, my God, Alex, everywhere I go, your T-shirts are there. You'd go to the RNC, it was just every other shirt. People saw that. They jumped on it. And then they go, oh, Jones, Hillary for prisons, the Russians. No, it's me. It's you, the listeners. You decided to buy the shirt. It got huge. Some Russian marketing companies, not even political, jumped on. And that's all Mueller's got. This is incredible. Tony Tarantino, father of Quentin Tarantino, I'm not on some mission against Quentin. And you're his dad, and you've been in a lot of films, a lot of movies before him, and it's strange that you were already in film and your dad was in film and then he got into it. Maybe, I guess, because he was looking back on what you'd done, but you've got to do film out or film you're producing. Tell us about that, you want to produce. But just getting into his psychology, you mentioned when he wrote the book, you're being careful here about being taken to porno theaters by his mother, back when I guess it wasn't internet or wasn't, Cinemax or whatever on cable. I have seen that when I was a teenager. Why would he defend Roman Polanski and pedophilia? And then why is he so arrogant, and why is he being protected by Hollywood?
That's a damn good question. The only thing I can come up with is because of power. Money and power within the industry. It's just the same thing that Weinstein was accused of, telling women they'd be blackballed, they'd never work again if they didn't submit to his commands. And basically, in my opinion, that's the same strength or the same position that Quentin is using. And when you look at Roman Polanski, what he's been able to get away with because, again, of his recognition of his position. You know, I met Harvey I think we sent you a picture at the...
Yeah, let's put that up. Tony Tarantino with Harvey Weinstein. When we have that photo, let's put that up. Go ahead.
Now, that was an award ceremony for Quentin at the Beverly Center. I saw Harvey walking up, and I was excited. I wanted to go over and meet him. He was walking up, and he had this gorgeous young thing on his arm. And I walked up to him, and I said, "Hey, Harvey, let me introduce myself. I'm Tony Tarantino." And he looked at me really stout-like, and he said, "Don't bother me. I'm busy right now." And I looked at him, and I'm like you. I say what comes to my head, and a lot of times it gets me in trouble. But, and I just looked at him, and I said, "Yeah, Harvey, that's obvious. You're too busy being an asshole," and walked off. And that was my introduction to Harvey Weinstein. These people, all of them, regardless of who they become so full of themselves and self-importance and power within the industry that they basically feel they're above the law, they're above reproach, and they get away with any damn thing they feel like. And when you listen to some of the idiotic things that he has said, not just now, but all through his career ever since he became well known. And to me, that's really too bad. Hey, I'm an actor, but I'm no different than anybody else. That's what I do for a living. That doesn't make me, above anybody else in any other way. It's just what you do for a living. You have a job. And what you do for a living, and you're good at it. But that doesn't set you up against the rest of the world and make you any better of a person than anybody else. And people that take that attitude and think they're sick. They have a real problem. They need to come back down to earth. Somebody needs to put them there. And honestly, that's not my intent. I don't want.
Well, let me ask you this question. It was 16 years ago, because my son's almost 16. My ex-wife was about 6 months pregnant. And there was one Alamo Draft House then. It was called the Ritz downtown. It's at a new location now. But it was a big theater they built out of an old warehouse. And I went to see the French Connection. I knew the director was going to be there, but I didn't care about that. It was back when there weren't a lot of movie theaters. They were going to show The Exorcist next that he'd done. I didn't care about that. I only bought the ticket for the first movie. So I go with my pregnant wife. We sit down. I watched the movie, eat pizza. But, of course, Quentin got up at the first, and then the director came on. So I'm leaving, and then one of the guys associated with the local paper comes and gets in my face, says, "What are you doing here?" And then Quentin walks over out in the big hall, open area, and goes, what the F are you doing here, blah, blah. I guess he knew who I was. I kind of ignored it, and my ex-wife comes out of the bathroom, and I say, "Hey, let's get out of here." And then I'm going down the stairs, and the guy affiliated with a local newspaper, affiliated with it, nobody's going down the big red stairs at that point. Everybody's upstairs. He jumps down with his feet and tries to, knock her down the stairs. And then laughs and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's an accident, it's an accident." And they had the local paper person up there with a pad in their hand. It was a lady. And then no one's up there. I'm looking up because it's this big area, open area outside. There's only one theater there. And there's Quentin Tarantino kind of pops out like a barracuda or something and just goes right back. And so I don't think he was behind that, but he told me to get the F out of here. Just the arrogance of somebody like that to act like that. That's why when I saw him do the Howard Stern stuff and say, big deal about sex with little girls or whatever, it just made me ask, this guy really thinks he's God.
Yeah, and he's proven that. I don't know why, but he's really come after me big time. I had Prism funded through Wells Fargo Bank, and then I got a call, and I have it on voicemail because I couldn't take the call at the time. The vice president of finance over Wells Fargo Bank called me, And on a voicemail, he said, hey, we got a visit from Weinstein and Clinton, and after a discussion with them, we decided not to go with you. And then not long after that, I got another deal. That was a $55 million deal. Then after that, I got another deal with a company called Cedar Fair. They owned all these amusement parks like Knott's Berry Farm. And they were going with me. And then because I was all over the internet and everywhere else supporting Donald Trump, I got an email from them saying, hey, we decided not to go with you. You're too politically sensitive. So
that's how it works. So they claim there's a red list and they've been persecuted. They're persecuting people that are just common sense and are anti-America, and they think it's all funny. And I was reading about him spitting on Uma Thurman and you're like, but it happened to me. It's just like some dude wanting to be a big bully and do whatever he wants, and at a certain point, he's getting called out. TarantinoProductions.com. People can find out about your new productions there. Look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Tony Tarantino, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll be back with all the big news boiled down. A lot of it's been breaking since we had him on for the last 40 minutes. Very interesting, though, and I don't care about Hollywood. I don't care about, all their stupid crap. I'm not attacking it because I'm not part of it because I've already turned it all down. I'm covering it so you understand why you hear people like Tarantino say this type of evil crap. All right, I'm Alex Jones. I'm your host. Thank you for joining us. Joel Gilbert's coming up with guest Larry Klayman, the founder of Judicial Watch, with key intel in the next hour with all the big breaking news that's unfolding in the War Room with Owen Schroyer. And, of course, Roger Stone, who's here in studio, here in the ATX. Before I hit the final news that I'm going to hit in this hour, I just want to make a point. I can't open a newspaper or turn on a television channel or go see a movie or turn on Netflix or HBO or Amazon and there not be just anti-Trump stuff everywhere. And then below that, there's anti-Alex Jones stuff everywhere. And it's not like, oh, look, they're attacking me. It's not like that. And so I'm sitting there last night with my son, and he's looking at documentaries. And it's like all this anti-Trump stuff. And there was like some show like called Scams or something on Netflix. I forget. And one of them is Donald Trump. And I already knew all about it. So I said, let's watch this. The thing was like almost 2 hours long. We sit there. We started the thing at like 9 o'clock at night. I never stay up till 11 anymore. I'm like an old man. So I got up at like 5 a.m. I watched this whole thing. And it was all lies and distortion. And it isn't like I'm just defending Trump. I know all about that stuff. And I've experienced the lies. And then I just say to myself, what is it about this guy that's got them so scared? And then I look into my gut, and my gut goes, back Trump, back Trump, back Trump. He's real, he's real. From way before I ever came on the show or I ever talked to him on the phone, I'm not into politicians. I'm not into celebrities. Trump's kind of goofy with the stupid hair and all of it. It's not about that. Like, I'm totally liberated not caring about celebrity. But with Trump, there was something different. And you know somebody by their enemies and the way they hate him and the way when I watched that show, like all the other ones I've seen, it was the exact same thing. Oh, he's fake. Oh, he's a loser. Oh, maybe he only has $10 billion. He claims he's so rich. But you know the big secret? Almost no one in the last 50 years, almost all our fortunes were made by mavericks like Trump before. But in the last 50 years, they were all made by combines and centralized groups and these societies. Trump did do hundreds of things, did fail at dozens of things. He's total Americana. And that's why they're so scared. He does go with his gut. He is impetuous. He does do these things, and that's what I'm like, and that's what you're like, and that's why they hate us. And you watch these documentaries and all the rest of it, and you really realize what these people are like. And it would show these people that were given access to Trump that would stab him in the back and say crappy things about him. Like, oh, in between divorces, he really loved hot women. Oh, my God, what a demon. But if you're trying to screw little kids that you kidnap, that's fine. You know, when all you goody two-shoes are mad about pedophilia, I'll start worrying about grown men, you know, in between divorces liking hot women. That's how God built us. And I'm not saying all of it's good or perfect. I get it. The point is, get this beam out of your own eye before you tell me to get a speck out of mine. It's just, my gut tells me Trump's good, and then it's delivering. My gut's never wrong. I didn't like the Hollywood Trump. I didn't like the Apprentice Trump. I don't. But then once I got the political Trump, I was like, and that's the real Trump. That's what they're scared of. The evil spirit that is globalism hates Trump because he simply wants prosperity and he's confident. See, a Satanist is really immature and they're very, very insecure. They are really scared by Trump because they act all secure and they act all invincible and they act like they're fake until they make it. Trump's already made it. And you've already made it. Because you don't want to screw people over. You're already confident. You're not looking for power. That's why they hate you. And so that's why I back Trump. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Has he made a lot of mistakes? Yeah. If I was in his position, I'd have done a worse job, I can tell you right now. We're not gods, we're men. And I look at the Stormy Daniels thing right before he got remarried or whatever, and now, you know, she got paid off or whatever, and she admitted it was all consensual, whatever. And, oh, she saved the dresses, and now they're going to see if any of his DNA's on it. Like he did something wrong, like a woman wants to be with him and he's with her, and then now the treachery of this. I'm not saying Stormy Daniels has even done all that. The point is that's how the media pushes all this. Like, oh, ISIS can murder and sell little girls into sex slavery, that's okay. But if Donald Trump has consensual sex with a woman 14 years ago, it's the end of the world. And that's what I mean. And then Quentin Tarantino says you can rape a 13-year-old. It's consensual. It's what I mean. It's like they're the group that has no morals, that knows we have morals. And so it messes with us all day about how we're not perfect when it's completely evil. And that's what I'm getting at here. Yeah, Stormy Daniels has a Monica Lewinsky dress to test for Trump's DNA, report says. God almighty. It never ends. So that's where I stand. Meanwhile, North Korea has told its military they're going to strike Tokyo, Japan, between the 28th of March and April 2nd. And, you know, mainstream media puts out fake leaks and fake reports and fake sources. Let me tell you something. Those aren't fake sources with me. I'd rather blow my head off, which I don't want to do, by the way, never commit suicide, than lie to you. My only value is that I tell the truth. The globalists call that a weakness. I call it a strength. But are the people telling me that trying to manipulate me? Maybe so. You should, I mean, I said, so does the deputy director want me to say this? Well, you're authorized to say it. No, I want to know. Do they want this said and why? We're not going to tell you. But obviously, we're authorized to tell you this. I ignored it for a few weeks. Then more contacts, more. We want you to warn people because we don't want to cause a panic, but we want the armed service network that listens to you and everybody to know this. And I'm like, am I being used in some larger thing to hype war? I don't think that's what Trump wants to do. I don't know. And then after weeks of this, I decided to just tell you, just know I'm at the limits of my capacity. I don't like these con men that say they know everything and they've got every answer and they have no answers. I'm telling you, I'm maxed out, and I'm just telling you this stuff's real. And that's all I got at this point, is the fact that I'm real. I can hold on to that point, that I'm not trying to hurt people, that I'm real, that I love God, that I love my family, that I love children, that I want to be a good person, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that we continue on, and I want to be strong because I believe you're strong. Globalists always say, oh, Alex, you're just scaring them for us. They're a bunch of cowards. But they've been proven wrong, haven't they? You're not a bunch of cowards. You heard the truth about the globalists, and you took action. You heard the truth about their evil, and you took action. And that's what I know. I don't sit there in some intellectual calculation like all these other inbred, three-barreled named scumbags do. You want to talk about cracker-ass white people, let me tell you, they are the problem. They're 1/10 of 1%. They're a bunch of inbred mental patients. They can all go right to hell. There's no big fancy calculation with me. I go with what the truth is, though the heavens fall. And in 1 minute at the end of the hour, if you want to see this type of information continue, buy the products, 50% off. It's going to end this weekend. Super Blue, colloidal silver, iodine fortified. The Icarin liver and kidney cleanse, so powerful, 50% off out of the gates. And, of course, the Body's Ultimate Turmeric Formula, 50% off, 400-plus milligrams of the curcuminoid in it. Nobody's got that out there. There's brands out there for $80, 2 or 3 times what we sell it for, that are pure crap. Because I'm a schmuck. I believe in actually treating you like I want to be treated. Well, you know what? I'm not a schmuck. You have seen it, you have used it, you have buying it, and you're rebuying it because you know that there are real people that openly deal and straight shoot, that lay it out square. New term I developed this week, square shoot. I shoot you straight, square way, square shooting. We'll be back. Stay with us. 4th hour. I want to be very, very clear, and it's not because I'm in some FBI butt-kissing operation, but because I've learned how this stuff works. The Democrats would stage riots. It came out in the WikiLeaks, came out in other documents, Soros documents in court we covered just last month, would exacerbate every questionable police shooting, would cause race riots, would try to discredit local governments to then bring in federal control under UN edict under the Strong Cities Initiative. And believe me, I couldn't believe 2 years ago when they were openly saying the Justice Department, Loretta Lynch, wanted the UN to take over local police departments. I mean, you can't make that up, but that was the announcements. Even crazier than I can think of. I mean, it's just they're getting bold as they lose. They're like overshooting. They used to like deny world government. Now it's like World Government Summit says get rid of the family, this week. So when you just sit there and like attack a group and say every FBI agent's a horrible person and they're all bad and blah, 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 you know there's a political aim behind that because it's an institution. Somebody wants to hijack that institution. And if Trump was trying to clearly block the FBI and do bad things, I'd be against him. But there are criminal elements in the FBI, so they make it about an attack on the FBI instead of about ferreting out criminal elements within it. But if the left and the globalists are going to call for gun control, they're going to blame gun owners and say we're all guilty, and then you've got the holdovers of the whole Obama FBI not doing anything about people that keep wanting to do mass shootings, Islamic attacks, San Bernardino, FBI agents were threatened with arrest, civil rights, criminal investigations because they were trying to stop people that went to Pakistan and went to Saudi Arabia. Those were FBI agents and federal marshals that tried to do their jobs. They were threatened with criminal charges for civil rights violations, like they were KKK members about to blow up a black church for trying to stop Muslim immigrants that were terrorists and later did attack a Christmas party. So am I saying the FBI is the enemy? No, it was the FBI, low level, trying to stop it. It was Justice Department above it, making it a political operation completely. That said, here's the breaking news. It's out of London Independent. It's out of Sputnik News. It's out of AP. Florida governor calls for FBI director's resignation over missed shooter's tip. On YouTube, you name it. Florida Governor Rick Scott called for the resignation of FBI Director Christopher Wray on Friday after the agency admitted that the January tip regarding Nicholas Cruz was not investigated. The announcement comes after the FBI admitted on Friday that a person close to Cruz connected the agency's public access line to report their concerns about the 19-year-old's gun ownership, desire to kill people, and erratic behavior, disturbing social media posts. Yeah, he called himself the school shooter. If there was some weird guy with guns at a school and my kids went there, he called himself, "Hi, Mr. Jones, I'm the school shooter." I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, you're 19-year-old, you're getting your ass kicked. And I'm not saying that to act macho, man. You walk over and say, "I'm going to shoot your kid." What the hell? But that's where we are in this country with the leftists and the globalists protecting the Islamists, the schizophrenics, you name it, it never ends. So we'll continue to cover that. Coming up, we've got the guest host here, Joel Gilbert, Larry Klayman, founder of Judicial Watch, heading up his own powerful group now with the latest intel on everything that's happening. It's all coming up on the other side of this quick 1-minute break. I'm Alex Jones, newswars.com, prisonplanet.com, infowars.com, and I know you're awake. Hell, you're more awake than I am. But if you don't spread the links to the articles, if you don't spread the word, if you don't paint Infowars on the side of your barn, put a sticker on the back of your truck, if you don't call and talk radio or C-SPAN and plug it, they'll beat us. And if they can beat us, they can beat you. But you know what? We keep winning because you keep taking action. So I'm telling a football team in the fourth quarter that's already 20 points ahead, great job, let's not just lose this. I commend you all, but it's up to us to lose. It's ours to lose. Let's take it in.
Welcome to the Alex Jones Show. I'm Joel Gilbert, coming to you from California, right from the left coast. You know me as a frequent guest, filmmaker, Dreams from My Real Father, There's No Place Like Utopia, and right now in the Infowars store, you gotta buy it from Alex Jones. It's Trump, the Art of the Insult. You won't be able to stop laughing. You gotta go to the Infowars store and get the Art of the Insult. Now, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Clinton basher, attorney Larry Klayman of Freedom Watch USA. He's going to be giving us a lot of insight on what's going to happen next in Washington with the so-called indictments or non-indictments, if anything's going to happen and how it can happen to take care of these conspirators against the United States. First, I'm going to give you some of my insights, some of my takes on what's going on in the news. Briefly, because we're going to talk to Larry Klayman later, I want to talk about something personal about the Steele dossier. Of course, we all read about Bruce Orr. People have seen Bruce Orr in the news quite a bit. His wife worked for Fusion GPS. She was a Russia expert, and he's knee-deep in it. Well, I actually went to high school with Bruce Orr. There's that high school photo. And I knew Bruce Orr growing up. Came from my small town in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Bruce was a nice enough guy. And the reason I'm telling you this is because he was a brainiac. He was an A-plus student, physics major in college. He was not an ideologue. He was not a political person. If I'm being honest, he was a little bit of a wimp. So I'm going to predict, based on my knowledge and experience with Bruce Orr growing up, that he's probably cooperating with the investigators, because he was actually scheduled to be interviewed by the House committee over a month ago, no interview. And I think that's very interesting. I think his personality is someone who's going to cooperate. If anything, it was his wife, Nellie, I think, that got him into this nonsense, because we saw how much she's involved with Russia. She spent time in Russia. She learned Russian. And in my experience, people that become so obsessed with Russia is very strange and very rare group of people that do that. And the only people that do that are essentially what we call red diaper babies. Red diaper babies are children of communists, children of Communist Party USA members. It's a phenomenon that goes way back. In the 1960s, all the leaders of the Weather Underground, SDS, Students for Democratic Society, Marxist terrorist groups, all of them came from families where their parents taught them growing up, we're pro-Stalin, we're pro-communist, we love Russia, America is evil. This is the nonsense these people were fed, and then they grow up having an obsession with Russia. As you know from my film, Dreams from My Real Father, I presented a mountain of evidence that Obama's real father was a Soviet agent Frank Marshall Davis, the man who raised him in Hawaii, and he was radicalized. Now, Bruce Orr, I believe, is going to sing to the feds because he's no radical. He's a very nice kid, and he probably got involved in some things that he realizes, are way over his head. So we're going to talk to Larry Klayman about that later at the bottom of the hour. I want to give you some insights into this horrific shooting by this nut job in Florida this week. As usual, we hear that the FBI was warned about this guy and did nothing. And of course, the left calls for gun restrictions. They call this common sense. It's always common sense with the left. They use these word games. They want common sense gun laws. Of course, there were no common sense truck laws when the terrorists ran over people in New York or anywhere else, when these people are on a bike path. They didn't talk about common sense pressure cooker laws after the Tsarnaev brothers made bombs out of pressure cookers. Every time a Islamic terrorist shoots, stabs, bombs, or runs over Americans, of course, the response of the left is, let's not jump to conclusions. There's no common sense call for common sense immigration reform. Where's the common sense? So you got to be careful about leftist word games. They've been playing word games forever because on the face of it, their policies don't make any sense. Of course, back in the 60s, they used to say, don't kill your children, and then it became choice. Abortion was a matter of choice. Of course, only 8-9 years ago, Barack Obama was saying marriage is between a man and a woman and God. God's in the mix. And then later he said, well, no, now the word is equality. It's marriage equality. So we've got common sense, choice, and equality. The next one is government-controlled healthcare. Government-controlled doctors. Doctors work for the government. We see how that works in the VA hospitals. But the new word is access. You have to have access to healthcare. Everyone has to have access. Now, access simply means free government healthcare. And now, of course, we hear because this nut job shot people that we need common sense gun reform, which simply means eliminate, of course, the Second Amendment. So the media simply in turn replays and repeats these word games. And often Republicans accidentally get caught up in it too. They repeat these word games. So you have to be very vigilant not to accidentally accept the language of the left. All these things, the immigration system is broken. I've heard Republicans say that. In fact, the immigration system was fine. It was the enforcement that was broken. So it's all about word games when it comes to the left. But let's talk about the FBI and their incompetence with this mass shooter. They've been missing a lot of mass shooters lately. I want to go through some of them and give you some insights, especially into Las Vegas. Of course, Dylan Roof bought weapons because of errors of the FBI and their background checks. Fort Hood shooter Major Nidal Hassan was in contact with al-Qaeda terrorist Anwar al-Awlaki. FBI declined to investigate him. Nothing could go wrong there. Of course, the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston, one of them was investigated by the FBI. They said, no links to terrorism, see you later. Pulse nightclub shooter Omar Mateen was turned into the FBI. Remember, if you see something, say something. They had like a 2-year investigation of this guy. They interviewed him. They eventually said, well, no problem, never mind. And then after he shoots up the nightclub, they lecture us again, if you see something, say something. Well, that entire idea is completely irrelevant. It's been proven over and over. It's not going to help. A better slogan would be prepared to protect yourself because the FBI ain't going to do it. FBI ain't going to do it. What has the FBI been doing lately? We know they spend their time carrying bags of money to Russian hoaxsters who are offering up short stories about Donald Trump. Biggest racket in the world. They're paying about $85,000 per page. That's what they paid for the Steele dossier. FBI is also leaking about Donald Trump. Even the director of the FBI leaking about Donald Trump, not looking into these guys on these watch lists. And of course, they're apparently texting each other. That's another big deal. So I'm going to talk more in depth about the Las Vegas shooter and some things that I've learned and how the FBI goes into the mix. We'll be right back after the break. And welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. Infowars, Joel Gilbert coming to you right from the left coast. At the bottom of the hour, attorney Larry Klayman, Clinton basher, legal scholar, and a voice against government corruption. We're going to talk to him about what's going on in the FBI. In the meantime, I ended the last segment saying, instead of, if you see something, say something, the better slogan is, be prepared to protect yourself, because the FBI is clearly preoccupied with an obsession on Donald Trump, and they are not protecting people as they easily could. I want to talk about the Las Vegas shooter, Stephen Paddock. Now, this is a strange case. A rich, retired white guy, regular old dude, decides to give it all up and murder 59 or so country music fans. What are the odds of that? And there's no motive. Lots of strange things, no motive. There's hundreds of cameras in the Mandalay Bay. They must have had this guy coming and going with bags of stuff and suitcases full of guns or something. How come we haven't seen a videotape? Anyone seen a video of tape of that? There was only one witness, which was a security guard who goes to Mexico. The FBI lets him go to Mexico a few days later, and then a week later, he's on the Ellen DeGeneres show. You know, could it be that a different guy came back from Mexico and there's something else going on? As long as there's no information, you have to wonder what's happening. Now, I called a source, a good friend of mine who was a retired military guy, very high up in the U.S. military, retired in Vegas for many years. And he checked for me with the top security officials, police, even FBI in Las Vegas. And he said that these main security people who usually know everything knew nothing. They knew nothing, and they usually know everything. And they said that it seemed like all the information was blocked up from the top. So you have to ask, you know, what really happened? Now, remember, the FBI screwed up in Orlando, Florida. They had this guy, Omar Mateen, under surveillance for 2 years and dropped the ball. 49 people dead. That was pretty embarrassing. There was a similar story in Manchester. The shooter, Salman Abedi, at the Ariana Grande concert in England, she was under surveillance and they let him go. I'm sorry, he was under surveillance and the Brits let him go. That was pretty embarrassing. So it's a pattern that we see in Vegas, except they didn't maybe tell us what really went down. Now, I would bet one day we're going to find out that Stephen Paddock was under surveillance. What if all that video in the hotel that they're not showing us, what if there were FBI guys helping him carry guns up to the room? They certainly wouldn't want to show you that if they screwed up and let him go. When they cut off the information flow, it means there's something wrong. What if Paddock was moonlighting? What if he was working with the FBI, trying to set up some ISIS character, and the ISIS guy did all the shooting and killed Paddock and left? Remember, the FBI has cut off all the information. We know there's corruption in the FBI. These guys get short stories from Russians that are ridiculous, and they say, oh, let's go open up an investigation on Donald Trump. So the point is, the FBI seems hopelessly corrupt and incapable on all levels of executing protection for Americans. So this see something, say something is quite irrelevant, doesn't matter. Be prepared to protect yourself, because the FBI hasn't proven that they're ever going to do that. Next thing I want to give my take is on Iran. We saw in North Korea, of course, was in the news at the Olympics because Kim Jong-un's little sister really, really impressed the media, because she showed up, said nothing, and hardly even smiled. And the media thought that was really cool. So I want to give you a unique take on North Korea that you probably haven't heard. Everyone knows about Obama's deal with Iran. It was a private deal. It was not approved by the Senate as required. And it included the transfer of $1.7 billion in cash. Now, the media likes to say, well, some of this might have gone to terrorism, but I would argue much worse. Did you notice that the North Korean nuclear program suddenly took off? They're suddenly shooting all these missiles and exploding nuclear bombs as soon as Iran got this cash. So unfortunately, the real story that was broken by a reporter, Claudia Rosette, who told me about this, I met her, and she wrote about it in Forbes magazine. She said that Iran did not need cash, that the entire point of the agreement with Obama was to allow Iran access to international banking. She even told me that Iran didn't even ask for cash till the very end. And she told me that there's only one country in the world, one country that must use cash to do transactions. And that one country is North Korea. So again, did you notice that the North Korean nuclear program took off once Obama paid the Iranians the cash? So I think what's most likely is the Iranians simply sent their $1.7 billion in cash to North Korea to continue the Iranian nuclear program during the 10 years they're not allowed to produce. This means that Obama's nuclear deal actually caused both Iran and North Korea to develop nuclear weapons. That's probably what happened. And don't think for a second that Obama didn't know this all along. Obama's record in office was to diminish the power of the United States and empower America's intractable enemies. If you've seen my film, Dreams from My Real Father, you know that Obama was raised by a Russian agent, who I say is his real father. And Frank Marshall Davis taught Obama to hate, taught him to hate America, hate white people, hate people of different economic classes. He taught him Malcolm X, Angela Davis, so much so that you can see that Obama is very comfortable with anti-American extremists, and they're very comfortable with him. Again, the Iran deal may have, in fact, created two nuclear powers, North Korea and Iran. It took America over 10 years to recover from the disastrous Jimmy Carter presidency. It may take 20 or more years to recover from Obama's legacy of anti-Americanism, racial division, class division, and damage to security. Coming up at the bottom of the hour with Larry Klayman. First, we want to pay some bills. I want to tell you to please go to the Infowar store, because we want you to check out the Super Blue products at the Infowar store. They're 50% off for a limited time. And it goes like this. In the fight to avoid outside toxins and fluoride, you may be missing one of the most obvious sources, your store brand toothpaste. While you try to keep your mouth clean, you may be filling your body with unnatural ingredients and fluoride. That's why Infowars created the Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste. This groundbreaking fan favorite at Infowars Life Products is 50% off. It's loaded with the good halogen iodine and other beneficial compounds, hand-selected for their oral health benefits, featuring plenty of natural oils, high-quality ingredients, used in Aboriginal and biblical times. Again, it's called Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste. It will supercharge your health and leave you with fresh, minty breath. And you need something like that when you know the FBI isn't helping out. You know you need it because you need to have a break sometimes, and I think this will be something you'll really enjoy. If you're not a fan of peppermint, don't worry. There's also bubblegum flavor. You can expand your fluoride products for a full and natural bathroom habit. I'll be up at the bottom of the hour with attorney Larry Klayman of Freedom Watch USA. We'll take calls later. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm Joel Gilbert, sitting in for this hour on Infowars, right from the left coast, from Los Angeles, California. We're going to be taking some calls later. Start calling in. It's 877-789-ALEX, 1-877-789-2539. I'm going to bring on my guest now. It's Larry Klayman, the incredible warrior, founder of Judicial Watch and Freedom Watch. He's known for his strong public interest advocacy in ethics, individual freedoms. Larry became so famous for fighting corruption that the NBC hit show West Wing named a character after him named Harry Claypool, played by John Deal. His latest book is Whores, Why and How I Came to Fight the Establishment. Larry Klayman, welcome to Infowars.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you for that nice introduction.
Great to have you. All right, before we get into some of the FBI corruption, let's catch up a little bit. What people want to know is the Clintons have a rap sheet that would make Al Capone blush. Why have they never been put away? What have you done to try to do so, and what has always stood in the way?
Joel, that's the $64,000 question adjusted for inflation, so it's now in the multi-millions. But this is the way Washington works. It's why I founded Judicial Watch back in 1994. Of course, you know, I left and I ran for the U.S. Senate, and I started Freedom Watch when I came out, and that can be found at freedomwatchusa.org. But it's all a giant kabuki dance in Washington, D.C. I did get a finding that Bill Clinton committed a crime when he released the Privacy Act protected files of a woman he sexually assaulted in the Oval Office, Kathleen Willey. But other than that, the government does not take action against its own. It's like the National Football League. You have the American Conference, the National Conference. They both exploit these scandals. They go on TV, whether it's Fox News or CNN, depending on whether you're right or left, but nothing ever happens because there's an unwritten truce between the parties that we're not going to take out any of our upper level establishment people. And that's why you need a Larry Klayman and a Freedom Watch. I've now recommended that I be appointed special counsel. I'll get the job done. I'll take care of the Clintons. I'll take care of Obama. I'll take care of the corrupt Republicans. We're nonpartisan, and they can sign our petition at freedomwatchusa.org. It needs to be, we have 15,000 names so far, but we need to have many more because the president needs to put his foot down and either nominate me or nominate somebody like me to finally get this job done, because they're going to destroy him. Mueller will destroy him, and so will the Obama-Clinton deep state.
All right, well, that's what I want to look. Conservatives have been very frustrated because, of course, Obama interfered in the 2012 election. He unleashed the IRS on conservative groups so they couldn't organize while the left could organize. Of course, Benghazi, American ambassador killed. All the evidence was there. Nothing happened. IRS, nothing happened. Now we've got the DOJ and FBI interfering in the 2016 election. What can you tell us to give us any encouragement or hope that the law will be applied against Obama and the leftists, that this will be any different, that it won't just be swept under the rug and let's move on?
Joel, it won't be any different unless I'm appointed special counsel. There's nobody like me, frankly. And you can see what's going on right now with Trey Gowdy. He's playing both sides of the street. He's going out into private practice. He's praising Mueller. He started an investigation over Rob Porter in the White House, the guy who was accused of abusing his ex-wife. These people play both sides of the street. So, you know, it's not just an advertisement. I honestly believe I will risk my life for this country if I have to, and I have been threatened in the past, is that you need a Larry Klayman to be appointed special counsel or it won't happen. My former group,
Larry, go ahead.
You know, no, my former group gets documents. That's good. But then they ask the government to do something. The government's not going to do anything. And if I'm special counsel, I will have the powers of the Justice Department behind me, and I conduct investigations. We've got enough now to indict the Clintons, to indict Obama, to indict Mueller for leaking grand jury information on Trump, for a lot of different things. And it won't happen unless I'm special counsel. It won't happen. There's nobody else out there that'll do it.
Okay, let's take, for example, what's going on with Jeff Sessions. You'd think he would have the power to clean house. And people seem very frustrated that he's kind of acting like an employee at the DOJ instead of the head of the DOJ. Why isn't this guy, hardcore Southern conservative, supported Trump from the get-go? Why isn't he cleaning house?
Joel, first of all, he's a politician, okay? So by his nature, he plays all sides at the same time. But the problem that Jeff Sessions has is that he himself is under investigation as either a subject or a target of Mueller's investigation. He's been accused of perjuring himself in front of Congress by virtue of saying he never met with a Russian ambassador. It was nonsense, even if he met with him. There was no big deal, but he didn't tell the truth, number one. He did meet with the Russian ambassador. Number two, he's under investigation for alleged collusion with Russia. He was on the Trump transition team, and he was also supporting the president to be elected president. And then, of course, he's been accused of playing a role in the firing of James Comey, which is, according to Mueller, possible obstruction of justice. So he's put his head in the sand. He doesn't want to offend Mueller or the Democrats, and he's been absolutely zero as an attorney general. I've said, and others have said after I said it, that he should resign or do his job. But he's been a complete worthless disgrace as the attorney general.
Well, what you're also saying is that he was neutralized by these attacks from the left. Don't forget, Devin Nunes was neutralized by an ethics complaint for like 6 months. So maybe this is a technique that they'll always find something to make you afraid to do anything. What would you do day one, Larry Klayman? You're the special counsel. You're in charge of the Clinton investigation. Just for me, you're going to investigate Obama's background and who his father really is. And you're going to find out what the DOJ and FBI were up to. What do you do day one? What's your agenda those first couple days?
Well, what I do is I impanel a grand jury, and you start hauling these people in front of a grand jury. Now, we know that the evidence exists that Obama put forward a fraudulent birth certificate, regardless of where he was born, and I don't believe he was born in this country. And I don't also, and, with regard to who his father is, that's an open question, but it was a fraudulent birth certificate, and that is a crime. So he can be convicted for that. He can be convicted for using the intelligence agencies to illegally spy on hundreds of millions of Americans, notwithstanding President Trump, who we know he was behind that. He could be convicted for misuse of the IRS. I can go on and on and on, Joel, but there's a lot there. And of course, the Clintons, we know about them. That's a criminal enterprise. And they used the Clinton Foundation as that enterprise to be able to make millions and millions of dollars at the expense of American national security. So yes, I'll bring them in. And that's the difference between Jeff Sessions and me. And that's why I want people to go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org. Sign that petition, because you see, the establishment doesn't want someone like Larry Klayman. We have to force it from the masses to say, yes, we need Larry, because I will risk everything. Sessions won't risk anything. He's there.
So you'll put up a grand jury, and you'll start calling people before the grand jury. Look, I'm hearing Jeanine Pirro every other Saturday. She says indictments are forthcoming, and I just don't see it. Do you think she's credible?
I like Jeanine Pirro, and I like what she says, but you know what? She doesn't understand. She's been a judge in New York State. She was a prosecutor, but in Washington, D.C., the swamp, she doesn't understand it. She doesn't understand it yet. And, Fox does this, and Fox does a good job, and I commend them, but they're doing it to boost ratings. They want people to think that something's going to happen, but we know it's not going to happen. Same thing for Hannity, this optimism, or Sarah Carter or John Solomon. I know them both. They're nice people. They're good reporters. But it's to try to boost interest. But unless you have Larry Klayman as special prosecutor, it's not going to happen. It's never happened in my entire career.
All right, well, we're gonna come back next segment. We're gonna keep Larry Klayman with us. Please call in, ask questions of Larry. It's 877-789-ALEX. Again, 877-789-2593. Bring your questions to Larry Klayman. Let's see if we can get him into the special counsel's office. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes with Larry Klayman. Welcome back to Infowars, the Alex Jones Show. Joel Gilbert here, coming to you right from the left coast with my guest, Larry Klayman. I'm going to take a few calls in a minute, but first, Larry, I want to ask you, you've been fighting the Clintons for 30 years. Tell us something we don't know that would just horrify us even more, if that's even possible. Did Hillary order the attack on the Waco compound? Give us one thing we don't know that people would be really shocked by.
What we don't know is what we don't know. Now, we know that there's a pattern in practice, Joel, of the Clintons going all the way back decades, where they use government services, they sell it for campaign contributions and to line their own pockets. There's a lot of things we don't know. Now, one of the things that I was trying to uncover was the sale of waivers to do business with Iran while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. This is something that hasn't come out. A Democrat judge was appointed to this case, and not one document ever came out. So consequently, that's something that we'll be looking into if I'm special counsel, because she was actually selling U.S. national security, undermining the sanctions against Iran to line her own pocket. We know that's what they do. And I also want to get into some of the judges who have covered for them. Frankly, they should be indicted too for covering these things up. I'm writing a column today for WorldNetDaily.com about the judges, and we have such politicized Obama and Clinton hacks on the bench that they slow roll everything. And we've got to break through that. We have to start impeaching some of them, and I'm going to be working with the Judiciary Committee to do that. But as special counsel, I can bring them in front of the grand jury, and in fact, we can indict them for covering things up. Let me give you an example. Amy Berman Jackson, who's sitting on the Manafort prosecution, first of all, won't let Manafort out of house arrest. Then she puts a gag order on so he can't defend himself when he's being attacked in the media. On top of that, she's not concerned about the criminal grand jury leaks of Mueller, which are criminal. They're trying to destroy Trump and everybody around him before they're even tried. So these are the kinds of things. If a judge violates his or her oath of office, she should be indicted. And Amy Berman Jackson should be indicted. So that's why I need to be special counsel. I mean, there will be hell to pay.
All right, Larry, I think a lot of people would like to see that. Let's go to Rudy in California and see what he thinks of Larry Klayman as the special prosecutor. Rudy? Go ahead, Rudy, you're on.
Idea. This Robert Mueller is no good. I mean, he is truly the deep state. That's who he is. I mean, here I am. I'm in California. You know, I was raised around Democrats, but I'm becoming more, I guess you could say, more of a conservative Democrat now. But I'm different than them. I tell you, I'm getting tired of this. This is ridiculous.
Okay, thank you for the call. Let me go to someone else. Let's go to, there's also a Dr. Kelly who wants to volunteer for Larry's special grand jury. Larry, is it legal if you put on a Alex Jones supporter? Let's see what Dr. Kelly has to say.
Hey,
Are you
Larry,
there?
good to be there with you today, and thank you for your work. And I would like to volunteer, and I would like to call on all Californians and Nevadans to wake up. This is the grand jury reawakening. You need to get there and serve at your county level. You need to do the accusation and indictment functions of your criminal grand jury as well as your civil. And I've got to serve for 3 years in one of the 58 California counties, and I would like to volunteer for the special federal grand jury if needed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the call. Larry, can you take volunteers in this way, or you'd have to get them more at random to be able to really kick ass? How does it work?
No, there's two ways to do it.
Who's on the grand jury?
Two ways to do it. I have a citizens grand jury in Ocala, Florida, a very conservative place. You know, I'm from Florida. And I actually did indict Clinton and Obama, and we convicted them in front of a citizens trial. Okay, this grand juries don't belong to the judicial branch. They don't belong to the executive branch. They don't belong to the legislative branch. Judge Scalia ruled that in a case, United States versus Williams, back in 1982. So we can do it in ourselves. But the problem is we can't enforce the indictments and convictions. And that's why if I'm special counsel, you see, I have the powers of the Justice Department, the U.S. Marshal Service. And once we indict them, once we convict them, then you can enforce it. Because I've always said that the worst punishment for Bill and Hillary Clinton is to be put in prison in the same prison cell together for the rest of their lives. But those grand juries are chosen randomly on voter rolls. Okay, but if people want to assist us as volunteers, that's something that we can consider. So go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org. Sign the petition. You can put comments up there. Let me know who you are, and we'll be back in contact with you, because we do need a citizens' army. I'm trying to avoid, Joel, I don't want there to be a violent revolution. I want this to be peaceful. So we need Larry Klayman. And I know I sound like I'm advertising myself, but I honestly believe it in my heart, is that I'm the only one that will do it and can do it. Everybody else is like Jeff Sessions. They'll put their heads in the sand because they're going to put their interests ahead of the country. We don't have patriots anymore in positions of power in law enforcement that are willing to go against the Clintons. Sessions is a nice man, but he lacks guts.
Well, how and when did the DOJ and FBI and even CIA become so corrupt with leftists and people that are not following the law and are on to goose chases like Russian hoaxsters instead of dealing with people making threats and Islamic terrorists in the United States? How did that happen?
Well, it's always been somewhat the case. This is why I was a Justice Department lawyer. I'm very proud when I became one. I helped break up AT&T. But I saw how it was so politicized that if you were on the wrong side of the street, you're more likely to be indicted and tried. And if you're on the right side, they would look the other way. So it's been that way to a certain extent. But over the last several decades, it's gotten much worse, and it's gotten politicized. 97% of the lawyers at the Justice Department either contributed monies or voted for either Clinton or Obama. That's unbelievable. They're leftists. And the people at the top are scared to take them on, like Sessions, because they're scared that those people wind up going against them, leaking information, smearing them, whatever. There's this deep state that is highly leftist in this country. And that's why, you know, I want to be special counsel, because I won't let that influence me. I've always been nonpartisan. I went against Bush and Cheney when they did the wrong thing. But this is not the kind of a situation where you need someone who's going to play politics. Our country's hanging in the balance. President Trump is our last hope before we get something even worse than Obama and Clinton. And we need to do whatever we can to bring about justice, to get these leftists financed by George Soros. And I'm of Jewish origin myself. I'm a Christian. I'm a Jewish Christian. So I don't mean this in an anti-Semitic way, but he's a self-hating Jew who associated assisted the Nazis in World War II in confiscating property from the Jewish people. This is the guy who's financing the Democratic Party and Obama and Clinton and the rest of them. He's extremely powerful.
Yeah, let me make a comment about Soros. I want to say something about Soros is people don't know the whole history that he was the only Nazi spy that wasn't executed by the Russians. He shows up in London dealing stolen art that the Nazis had taken and that the Soviets had then captured. He's engaging in a one-man crime wave during the Cold War, trying to collapse the British pound. And then he comes to the U.S. with his Open Society program. He's somebody that, if you look at his history, you just have to ask the question, was he originally a Russian agent? And is that why they spared him? Just like the Nazis spared him because he agreed to work for them. Did he agree to work for the Soviets once they captured him? And I think if you look at his record, you have to ask that question seriously. Let's go to one more quick call with Chris in Virginia. Chris, you're on.
Yeah, what I was wondering about is how do we get rid of the entrenched deep state in the DOJ and the Justice Department? If you look at it, Mueller, then Comey, then what they're saying about Wray. How do these people get slipped in front of a president to how they can get put in positions of power, and then it filters down to the field agents around the country?
Okay, thank you for the call. We only got a minute left. Larry, can you comment, how do you get rid of this entrenched deep state? 97% of lawyers are leftists. It's all throughout the system now. Does it even matter that Trump won? Did Obama stack the system so much that it doesn't even matter?
It does. For the same reason President Trump has the power to have me appointed special counsel, and again, go to freedomwatchusa.org, sign that petition, because I send him those names. And I'm also sending Sessions those names. He has the same power to clean house at the Justice Department. He's not getting good advice right now. The poor guy is hit with 25 different things every day of people trying to destroy him, but he has the power to clean out the Justice Department. I'll tell you, most people there walk around like Night of the Walking Dead, like zombies. About 30% of the Justice Department actually does its job. You can get rid of 70%. Let's keep 30% who aren't conflicted by being Clinton and Obama loyalists.
Okay, Larry Klayman, thank you very much for being our guest. This Infowars with Joel Gilbert. Thank you for being here. Please check Infowars.com, freedomwatchusa.org. Thank you so much, right from the left coast.
This program contains language and sequences some viewers may find disturbing.
The nation and all of our freedoms hang by a thread, and the military apparatus of this country is about to be handed over to scum who are beholden to scum. Russian scum!
Listen. Please, listen. If you don't, if you won't, if you fail to understand, then the same incredible terror that's menacing me will strike at you!
The function of all life is survival. Sleep. Sleep. Sleep.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Lock the door! Lock the door!
They're coming! They're coming! Help! Help! They're coming! They're coming! Listen to me! Listen! Help me! You're next, please! Please! You're next! They're in danger! Please, listen to me! Something terrible! Please! You're next! Here they are! They're already here! Come! You're next! They're coming! They're coming!
Sleep. The seed is planted. Sleep. Sleep. Terror grows. Sleep.
Elizabeth, wake up! Get you when you sleep! Sit up!
Invasion of the body snatchers.
All of a sudden, they're growing like parasites. Is it contagious?
Trump, free all the homies.
It looked right at me.
You need to get out.
You're looking at it as if it was human. It was not human. Now, the classic fear begins to grow.
We're being cornered.
In a modern masterpiece of science fiction.
They're barricading the street.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
The land of the walking dead!
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the Resistance. It's Alex Jones.
Introducing Icarin, a 30-day liver and kidney cleanse, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. We have set out with top researchers and developers to bring you the strongest, purest, most potent, documented system for your liver and your kidneys. There are 2 different formula blends in one powerful capsule. It also funds the Infowar, a total 360 win. Icarin, available now at InfoWarsLife.com.